Rocky up and into the air.
They're beating and banging. Burn on the bottom, Cosman up top.
Kaufman, I think. No, Breyer by 1/1000th of a second. Joseph now at the line. Thunhorse pulls the win out at the stripe. Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your foot down. He got it. He's got it. He's got it. Canvas is going to win. Blake Reynolds, who was able to become the first multi-time winner of this event today. This event, in turn, today takes its event roots from the old Daytona layout to the new modern version as we get ready for the 11th edition of the WINSTEL 400 here on FDF GG. Good evening, everyone. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside with the booth for tonight's action is Derek Watson with Zach Johnson in the production booth for what's expected to be one of the most intense superspeedway races of the season. Derek, 160 laps, a field of 43 drivers, all set to try and battle it out to see who can come away in this historic event with the W and come away with a purse of first place of $225 alone.
Yeah, JP, as you said, this is a historic event. It's the 11th annual version of this event that has evolved over time. It has changed everything. It's changed cars. It's changed names. It's changed length. In this case, it's changed the layout of the track or the version of the track we're going to use. This is an event embedded in history. We've had current and former eNASCAR Coca-Cola drivers win this race. We've had other winners. We've had green-white checkers. We've had everything you can think of in the past 10 versions of this race. And I'm excited for what could happen tonight.
Qualifying is underway for a majority of the field. Keep in mind, 2 drivers already set the top times amongst the qualifying session for the front row during the week. Those respective drivers, Dylan Alt and Brendan McGee. Discussing that in more in length as tonight progresses. And keep in mind, for those who haven't followed along with the action, drivers have been working their way through heats as well as, in some cases, the LCQ to make it to the show earlier today. And now, all those drivers are getting set to see if they can find their way to victory lane here at the World Center of Racing, Derek. It's a stacked field of drivers yet again, with multiple former and current pro drivers in eNASCAR competition, and a winner's list that features, well, a decent amount of them, including Logan Clampett, the 2-time champion Blake Reynolds himself for this event, and Chris Overland.
Yeah, that's what's great about an event like this, Justin, is that, it was free to enter. And so anyone can enter this event and can race with members of that caliber of Blake Reynolds, Logan Clampett, Garrett Lowe, and the list goes on and on from there. So that's what the appeal to this event is, Justin, is that kind of mentality of getting to race with those guys and measure up to those and maybe get your name known. This is also an event, as you hinted, where depending upon the driver, we have some drivers who've driven 50 miles, and we've had some drivers over the weekend who've already done 700 miles in advance of the 400 we're about to do tonight. So some people have a lot of on-track experience, some have none. The variables in this race are few and far between. I mean, Brendan McGee and, as you said, Dylan Alt, they locked their spots Friday night. They've had a comfortable weekend. So I'm excited. This is a good event. I've been around all weekend kind of watching things happen and evolve and watching the stories as we're watching qualifying here. This is going to be a wild night, I think.
Alex Kolinek's one of the most red-hot drivers at the end of WINSTEL Gen 4 Challenge action, just seen amongst the top 3 overall times. Those jumping in. Here's how it works for qualifying for this event. It's 1 lap solo qualifying, 5 minutes up on the board. In other words, you have to nail that run up to the green flag for your lap. You have to make sure you execute every bit of time as you see drivers are doing with the bend of the apron. Blake Reynolds, James Holzer, for example, amongst the top 10 jumping up. Only 2 drivers not taking times, Justin, again, and Shane Ward. are the only drivers who have not hit the circuit yet. Brian Doucette, amongst the eNASCAR pros in his return to Coke action this year, just crosses the stripe with 45 seconds to spare.
Yep. And so as you see the ticker board on the left side of your screen here on the FTF.GG broadcast, you see right now Nicholas Doucette and Cosmin Ionescu are currently on the pole, and I suspect they have a couple drivers left, but I think they're safe up there. But of course, even with those names up there, there's going to be 2 parade laps or 2 pace laps tonight. And as we said, we have the 2 pole sitters. They will drive up front and will actually take the green up front. So people right now are qualifying for 3rd on back, Justin.
Correct indeed, as Garrett Lowe puts in the final time out of anybody, 2nd quickest, just a couple 100ths and 1,000ths in fact off Nicholas Doucette, and the top time amongst those setting qualifying points. And in turn, 2 laps under the pace car before the green flag flies for the 11th edition of the WINSTEL 400. It's time to see this year's starting drivers. The top driver in the qualifying session was Nicholas Doucette. Garrett Lowe was 2nd quickest. Cosmin will be starting in 3rd. Ionescu will be alongside Alex Kalanick. Brian Doucette will start in the 5th spot. Around that said spot, Dylan Alt set the fastest time in the qualifying for the pole earlier in the week to get the Brandon Cruz DFS Pole Award, announced on WINSTEL social media over the weekend. Also, Blake Reynolds back in the field looking for a 3rd victory, with Emily Howe in 8th. Kevin McAdams, the Super Speedway 8, is in 9th, and James Holzer, who missed the heat races, keep in mind, was able to qualify his way in by winning the LCQ tonight, starting in 10th.
Picking up at 11th is Jonathan Hernandez, who also made his way in through the LCQ, and Brennan McGee. Then Nate S. Stewart and Joseph, Gabriel Mauricio and Kyle M. Benson. Then Brandon McKissick, another eNASCAR Coca-Cola driver, and Sean Pellig. And then Parker Alexander and Brian Baker round out these rows.
Right behind them is Ben Hancock amongst the other drivers who came out of the LCQ, 3rd best, in fact, in the LCQ finish. Also, Andrew Cootie, who took part in rectangle action last time out on FDF, starting in that row 11 spot as well. Philip Snipes, a WINSTEL regular, starting alongside Evan Locke. Towerhead, Dylan Roberts amongst the top 26 drivers in final qualifying. Michael Sturgill, along with Aaron Smith II, Sean M. Butler, and Jeremy Stanley, the top 30 on time.
Putting at 31st is Jeremy B. Davis and Jose Solis Jr., Alex Bates and Brandon Cruz Monsalves, Justin Malolo, another FTF regular, along with Everett Lane, William Boisvert, and Tommy Cassat, and then Ryan Hill and Christian Budd, Christian Budd, round out your top 40, Justin.
Once the championship contenders in WINSTEL Gen 4. It was Chatelaine, the last driver to set a time today in the 46.999 bracket. 2 drivers did not set times in the session, Justin and Shane Ward, those 2 drivers today. 43 entrants, 160 laps, 400 miles on the docket from Daytona. And as the drivers sort themselves out to start off this year's edition of the WINSTEL 400, let's get a chance to talk with one of the main organizers from WINSTEL competition. Brennan McGee, who was 2nd quickest in pole day qualifying, now joins us in the booth. Brennan, it's a pleasure once again to see the WINSTEL 400 back in action.
Yes, thank you guys for broadcasting this, and just wanted to thank everybody for coming out to this race. Had over 70-some drivers attempt to get into it, and huge thank you to Emily Howe and Brandon Cruz Monsalves, the Brandon Cruz DFS, for sponsoring this race again for like the 5th year in a row. It's just kind of gotten bigger and bigger every year. This is the first time we have not been on Old Daytona, and we're on the new one, so should be quite a bit more action, actually. I know Old Daytona is pretty popular, but so far we've seen in the heats and last chance qualifier and in the second chance race, lots of 3 wide and 2 wide and a lot of slingshotting for the lead. So it should be a great race. Hope everybody in the booth here and hope everybody watching this race has a good time watching it as well. It's definitely been a lot of lead up to this one, and I really just can't thank everybody enough for both participating and contributing to it. And you guys have broadcast this race now for 3 years in a row, so that speaks something for continuity for this race as well, now that we're on the 11th year.
And in regards to yourself for today, you've got the track position to start outside front row. What's your approach going to be now with the starting outside front row? Brennan.
Oh,
Brennan.
apparently my push toss my downshift button, so we can't use that one right now, but hopefully stay up here.
Okay, it's down to lights out on the iRacing pace car. We'll let you get to focusing on this start. That's Brennan McGee, top organizers from WINSTEL action as we get set for the WINSTEL 400. It's 11th running. Derek,
Yes.
a stack field, your keys to victory.
Well, first key to victory, I think, is staying clean. So this race weekend, does feature a 2-strike system, meaning if once you receive your second strike for fault of a wreck, you are disqualified. The only driver I can find in the field right now, Justin, who is eligible for that already has 1 strike, I should say, is Ben Hancock in the 6 car. He's going to start towards the back in P21. He received a strike. I think during second chance qualifier last night. So if he receives a second strike in this race for causing a wreck, he will be removed. So being clean and safe with the strike system can be important for these drivers.
On that note, it's time to let 43 Gen 6 cars go to life. The WINSTEL 400, all set for the virtual Daytona International Speedway. We're underway from the World Center of Racing. Brennan McGee jumping to the top spot already with the help of the draft from Garrett Lowe behind him. The first lap of the event goes to Brennan McGee for the main action. Dominic's also amongst that outside line trying to break ahead of Dylan Alt, who leads the bottom toe still.
Now, Justin, of note, these are the old Gen 6 NASCAR vehicles. These are not the next-gen cars. So the drafting and the process may be a little different than what we're used to in modern days, quote-unquote. And I think that's why you're seeing some of this, action the way we are with the drafting already.
Already the lines forming up, a lot of separation amongst them to try and prevent the side draft. It's important to note, tire wear also expected to be huge here today. It's been that way through the heats with the way the setups are built for today's action.
Yeah, Justin, this is a custom fixed set, so everyone is on the same setup, but it is a setup that was made by the WINSTEL admins. So it is not your typical iRacing setup. Tire wear does matter. So we will probably see tires, I would suspect, on every pit stop tonight.
Down the back straight away for the third time today already. Line starting to stall up a bit. One driver looking to make their way forward is James Holzer. Him louding in the inside line. Got a little bit of help from the 20, Joseph. Two of the Ryko performance machines hooking up to try and see if they can take the race lead inside.
Yeah, Justin, another driver you see in the middle of your screen here in the back is a 21 car. They have already gone now to the middle of this line and are trying to move their way forward. So we're already 3 wide here at the beginning of lap 3.
See that in the back right now, the 21 trying to cut their way through the field. That was Philip Snipes in the backdrop. Rest of the field staying too wide for the most part. There's a look at Snipes trying to find a hole and does. Snipes got the help prior to that from the 3 machine. Tommy Gossett, the 03 should say. And now they go back the middle and force their way underneath the 31.
You know, in this 3 wide middle lane action, we saw Parker Alexander pull this off over the weekend, Justin. There's a lot of drivers in this field who believe if you want to move forward, that's the lane to take. It's not the outside 3 wide. You need to push middle 3 wide and get ahead.
Bit of a stack up now. One of the cars moving to the inside. Here's to bin Brandon McKissick. who is a part of Legacy's organization despite the Nexus logos on his Gen 6 machine. Some of these drivers already watching for these runs, and that's an important thing to keep in mind. Maintaining, but also knowing what's going on around you if you want to move ahead, like some of these drivers at the outside resurgence.
I suspect right now, Justin, we're going to see a lot of drivers in the first 10, 15 laps who are going to want to test out this race setup. We've done races over the weekend. We've done heats and LCQs and second chance queues and different things. But this is the first time we've had everyone on track together. There's a few people who may want to test this out, see what it's like, and then find where you're comfortable. There are certain drivers like Emily Howell, who has openly stated they want to be up front. They want to take the old Dale Jr. approach of being up front is where less wrecks happen. Then you'll have the drivers who want to sit in the back, maybe avoid a couple wrecks and make their way through. These first couple of laps, though, they're going to be hot and exciting while everyone tests out the setup and see what it's all about.
Alter just emphasized that point. He just pulled up the second you mentioned, the chance of those wanting to stay at the back. Seen that 3 wide, and that, if anything, has destroyed that middle line for the most part. Most have moved to the bottom. Tyler Head now leads the middle groove as the bottom side now led to the inside by one of the Chase Elliott themed cars, Brian Baker.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Justin, about patience at a track like this. A lot of times when we see lines fall apart, it's not because the line isn't working. It's because people lose patience. It takes time for a line to work. It's not a go right now thing. It takes a lap or two. And sometimes if someone falls out, if someone gets impatient, that's when the line falls apart just like that.
He's still up at the head of the field, coming to the end of lap 7. But a chance to take it over is Brian Baker. He started this race in 20th. Justin Egnan Munsto's also working away on that bottom side, up 33 already. McGee still stays up in the lead for the time being. And one interesting storyline, as some people may know, with broadcasting, there's the opportunity to be able to chat along with your favorite fans, as well as your fellow fans. Sean Butler is doing that while driving at 197 miles per hour from 33rd.
Yeah, that's a skill that I both fear and respect, Justin. I do not have the skill to text while driving. So I both respect the ability to do it and fear that he can do it at the same time. If maybe a little bit more focus, maybe.
Oh man, he's typing again.
But I was going to say, you see some of our FTF regulars back here working together, hanging out. You see, I think that's Justin Malolo right behind him. Justin's, of course, a great member of FTF and also other projects around iRacing. You definitely know the name if you've been around for more than like 5 minutes. So maybe these guys are going to hang out. So maybe they're going to wait and see what happens in this race and find their way forward later. We'll have to find out.
See how the patience game plays out for some of the drivers towards the back, indeed. Especially with how some of the aggression's been up forward for those looking to take that approach. Not a surprise to see Emily Howell, you mentioned, up to 4th already, make it 3rd. 3rd in line on the outside still, Kyle Benson has also made his way up 11 with Brandon McKissick too.
If I had any surprises so far, Justin, we're 10 laps in. I'm surprised the high lane is leading around here. Typically in most iRacing formats we see with these cars and tracks, we're used to the bottom lane being dominant and the top lane having to really struggle. But these guys have figured it out. It must be the setup they're running that that top lane right now is dominant. The bottom lane's having a hard time keeping up.
Yeah, you're indeed right in terms of that momentum. Already 200 down the middle of the straight. The bottom line's only hitting 196 in the same spot. And with the Gen 6 car, remember, the main trend for a lot of super speedway races, faster on the high lines down the straights, faster down the low line in the corners. But it's not necessarily the case today. If anything, it's even in the corners.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we'd have to take a look at the pairings. It could be that we're seeing some more familiar pairings on the high lane of people who trust each other, people who are willing to bump and shove, people who are willing to let them bump and shove. Then we're seeing on the bottom. That can play a big factor. That bump draft in super speedway racing is always very important.
Kevin McAdams with a bit of a bobble in the backdrop. Outside of that, the patience moments. And the intriguing thing amongst this field, too, is not just the NASCAR competitors, but just the efforts in many cases to get here. Take Justin Malillo, who's currently in 40th, yes, amongst those trying to see what's happening in front. However, remember, in the heat races, there was the big one on the final lap, and some of the heats, Malillo made it as the last car in because of the big one in one case.
Yeah, he said in the interview that he went against all of his instincts and just kind of floored it and went for it. And it paid off because he did make it into this race on, I believe, the second heat of the weekend. You see it on board here with Justin, and see we can see Justin here on his webcam. See, he's got the Twitch chat up from ftf.gg up on the side. So hello, Justin. Thanks for watching along as you race.
I see the board, though, over his shoulder, and he's pointing at it. Yes, Brandon McKissick apparently stole his number. He likes the 53. McKissick's the 53.
Yep, so there you go. McKissick, of course, are currently second in line on the bottom. But the front of the field here, sort of the opposite end of where Malillo is riding. You see, by the way, Justin, this bottom lane's finally figured it out. McKissick is pushing Baker around. And they're within maybe a car length now, almost dead even here as we come through the corners.
Yeah, you're right. That bottom side starting to work together with the help of the pushes from McKissick. Baker just about edging ahead of McGee. McGee has still led all but a couple laps. Collins with one. Garrett Lowe with one as well, scored to his credit. Can already see some of the bobbles, and it looks like the top side may be starting to dissipate. Lowe trying to side draft a bit in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, those bobbles in the line, that can cause that line to break up a little bit. And we'll look at that right there in the bottom lane. Look how close McKissick is to Baker. There can be no room there. That has to be a pure bump draft, Justin.
Howe again is taking a peek on Lowe. A little bit tight amongst these drivers, to say the very least, up towards the front.
Yep,
Clayton Hoffman on the box today for Lowe for this race.
Sorry, Justin. I was going to say, we saw a big gap there between McGee and the car behind him, and that's what's allowed this bottom lane to now take the lead here and to put Baker up front. In a super speedway race, that kind of gap is dangerous. You don't want it. It's so almost anti-intuitive to other types of racing.
Yeah, some major shoving. Here comes a chance for Brian Baker to take the advantage fully. He led last time by at the stripe for the first time. Can Baker get fully clear? Yes, indeed. Will he take the chance to go for the block? No, he doesn't. But Baker now has the advantage on the bottom side. The numbers are starting to multiply on the bottom more than the top.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Justin, because every driver has a lane they prefer to be in if they had their ultimate choice. Some of us like to be on the bottom. Some of us like to be on top. And there's advantages to both. Some people believe that being on the bottom is better wreck avoidance. Some people believe that being on the top lets you carry more momentum. It's really where you feel more comfortable in that line that affects your performance. But look at McGee here's now pulled another 2-car length lead here. As someone's pulling on the line, they're going to get put in the sucker hole, I think.
That's how, and look at the left side door. This is a car that's seen some adjustments to its damage model, per se. Howe now has, I think, some scraping on the left side, if it's not the paint. 99% sure it's the paint damage added on. But regardless, Howe indeed is amongst those getting shuffled, and one car does add damage. One car adds plenty more damage into the wall. They bounce like a pinball. It's Cody, who's up into the fence.
Well, let me give a big shout out to Andrew Cootie. And we got another one in the wall. Who is that? That's the 9 car. That's 2 in a single lap, Justin. Congratulations to both of them. Both of those could have been horrible wrecks here on lap 17. Both of them kept it up there. Congratulations to both of them. I'm sorry you're in the wall, but thank you for controlling the cars that well.
And Cody has significant damage above the tire, working with Ross Corlett on the box today. McGee now with the advantage up down the straightaway. Once again, car 9 into the wall. Down the back straightaway, no caution. Cody, the first driver, with real damage, not painted damage.
So during all that, with the chaos around the cars and the wall, we got it back to 2-wide racing. Emily Howe got back in line up top. We're back to 2-wide racing. Something I've noted here so far, Justin, there's not a lot of attempts to side draft yet. Everyone's kind of got basically like a car or a half car gap between them here in this race so far.
Yeah, McAdams, we know, is a super speedway specialist. Whenever there's a special event involving Daytona, Kevin McAdams is usually there and usually runs well. But amongst those in the soccer hall, yes, that is the WINSTEL car, the 51 Nicholas Doucette, being left hung up to dry, one of the top drivers in qualifying, remember. Final quality. Remember, Doucette was very quick in the WINSTEL Gen 4 Challenge this past year.
Yeah, you know, Justin, one of the great things about WINSTEL and about this event and this season, you know, while some sports are wrapping up their season, we're just getting started for WINSTEL. This is a special event outside of WINSTEL per se, but we're less than 1 month away from the WINSTEL 2003 season. I'm excited that we're going to be part of that here in the booth for FTF.GG. But yeah, for some of these drivers, this is just getting ramped up and getting back into iRacing. Some of these guys have turned, probably they've estimated over 200 laps in practice for this event, not minus what they've done, you know, in the event itself.
And the significance, of course, involving the predecessor to iRacing, where a lot of it was based upon from 2003 in the beneficiaries of Pirates Remember. The throwback is to the 2003 season. Later on, throughout the campaign, the season starting in just a couple months' time. Amongst the drivers looking to charge ahead, Blake Reynolds, he started top 10, slipped back to the back. Now, he's found someone to work with. He is in the same communications as Tommy Gossett tonight, and Gossett seems to be content on helping him up the middle.
Of course, I'm sure we're not the first broadcast to mention, but we should mention congratulations to Blake. He has announced his retirement from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, so he is retired. Meanwhile, Tommy Gossett right behind him, someone who's trying to thrive in that community. So it's sort of an old generation and new generation working together at the same time, where they were, because I think Blake just left him behind.
Down the hole, left him alone, yes indeed. No help now, for the most part, except for thinking about it alt. One of the legacy drivers up towards the outside.
You know, and that's the kind of move, JP, that can really, it seems so minimal. We're a lap, 21 coming to 22. That's a move that seems so minimal and so small in this moment. But later when you need help, people like Tommy Gossett might remember that. They might remember that they needed help and that you just sort of took the first advantage you had. Some drivers have a really good memory about that. So those kind of things, you got to be careful how you play this Daytona race, because it could be later you need help and all of a sudden you've burned off too many friends.
What do they say, right? Your friends are where they find them, and some sim racers have very long memories.
Yeah, I feel like if we go back to, we're referencing classic things for the 2003 season for that we're going to do for WINSTEL. This is sort of like the old NASCAR Thunder Intimidate and share draft features. Blake Reynolds didn't intimidate Tommy Gossett, but he definitely did not help his friendship score with Tommy Gossett right there.
Garrett Lowe, interesting enough, moves to the bottom with Brendan McGee. We are about just past halfway the fuel run for today. That allows Philip Snipes now to lead the top line. Seems Lowe liking to work with Brendan McGee here.
Yeah, Lowe and McGee right now are they're in lockstep right now with what they want to do. And that's the other side of that conversation we just had about Gossett and Reynolds, JP. These guys have found someone they trust. Obviously, McGee likes the bumps he's getting. He trusts the bumps he's getting. And he's willing to stick there for now. And, that'll be something maybe we'll see. They'll probably work together the whole race unless they get separated by the field. You see the WINSTEL 400 logo there on the hood.
Absolutely all over the back end is Howe, bobbling back and forth. Losing a little bit more speed compared to earlier, and that's something we were talking about with the tire wear in the early going to this race. We'd start to see it where drivers very much prefer the 4 tires, not just with the fuel low, but also how loose things seem to be getting here. Just look in the corner and how some of these cars are bobbling, and the speeds are dropping significantly at one end of the track compared to the other.
Oh, they definitely are, JP. As you mentioned, we're about a little more than halfway through a fuel run. We suspect that a fuel load here is about 36 to 40 laps. Obviously, depending upon where you are in the line, how much you're able to lift or want to lift. For our leaders, we're probably talking more the 36 lap side. So we're about, so I'd say 10, 11 laps from our first pit stops.
At least. Lap traffic could become a major factor here in a few moments, by the way, with this 2 wide. Remember Cootie? Well, Cootie's damage gave him enough damage to where he's 5 seconds off the pace this entire field. And because there's no caution yet, he can't take the 1 faster pair available in the session for this event. So Cootie needs a caution in now, or is about to get taken 3 wide. As these drivers come to the end of lap 25 this time around, we'll take a quick step aside. You're watching FTFGG, the WINSTEL 400 from Daytona. Welcome back to coverage of the WINSTEL 400, the 11th running, brought to you in part by Brandon Cruz DFS, home for NASCAR Fantasy Podcasts. For more information, you can check them out via YouTube and Patreon. Be able to follow along with the podcast. Just a Prince, along with Derek Watson with your producer Zach Johnson. Just approaching our first pit stops. We were discussing damage and the potential of the faster pair, and when to potentially use them, Derek, how would you play it for an event like this, especially in the case of Andrew Cootie, who is now a lap down, 53 seconds back?
It's an interesting question, JP, as we see Andrew here on screen, because first off, the qualifiers, how bad is the damage, right? Like, obviously he's a lap down because he pitted, but if I can keep up in the pace here and I'm drafting on someone, an event like this that's 160 laps, I might hold on to my faster pair. If I can keep some kind of pace, not be in the way. Listen, I'm a lap down. I could be lucky dog eligible. You know, the danger in using your faster pair right now is what's still to come, right? If you use it now and then 30 laps from now there's a wreck or you hit the wall again, that's your only one. Oh, we've seen a big move there. I would be more inclined to hold on to it if I thought I could. Now, the pro to getting it done is it's done and you're able to be with the field and you feel competitive. I think, though, if that car is drivable, I'd hold on to it.
Keep in mind the pack did break up for a split second. 33rd on back. The 33rd on back group did find their way back up within the second, past few minutes or so. But you are indeed right in some of the different players. Joe Alt, for example, dropping back still, yes. But Jose Solis Jr., a very dominant driver in WINSTEL Gen 4 competition this past year, and a very fast driver in turn on the service. After staying just about dead last early on in this run, he's now made his way up to 15th.
Yeah, and look at that graphic, JP. I mean, he's been all over the place. You know, within up middle of the field to back, he's been as low as 43rd, as high as 15th. So, I mean, that's someone who's been up and down the field, probably testing to see what the car can do, grabbing good info. So later, when you get down to 20 to go, he will know exactly what that car can do and how to make it happen.
Is somebody that, remember, can very much work with different varieties of drivers, and we've seen really good when it comes to a lot of the strategy. Gen 4 challenge this past season. But indeed, down on lap 32, Emily Howe, the current leader, Sean Pellig working with her, Ben Hancock leading the inside line. And the different players and different shuffling coming in. The important thing to remember, again, it's the same with the Gen 6, it's the same with the next gen. You lead the pack, you burn more fuel. That may be the possible thought process here. That is up to 2 laps difference if you lead too many laps.
Yeah, it is very possible. If you lead too many laps, you're going to need to be the first to pit. I mean, Brandon McGee, I'm assuming, is going to be one of the first people to pit because up until now has led almost every lap and is finally falling back just a smidgen. But you get middle of this pack, JP, and you're able to maybe hold that throttle at 80% and keep in this field. You know, maybe you and some partners could turn an extra lap or two. You know, this isn't endurance racing per se. This isn't like a 24 hours of Daytona for the road racers. The odds that extra lap pays off maybe are not that great, but it's always nice to have it in your pocket if you need it.
Starting to see how many drivers get a little bit antsy here once that bottom line to set up the stops. You can already see, we mentioned the move ahead by Solis Jr. Already has taken a couple peeks in that Joey Gargano theme paint scheme, wanting to force a third line or make one at the very minimum, should say. No dice so far.
No dice so far, but yeah, making good moves in that Logano theme paint. And of course, the high side is still leading here, so maybe once we see them get up past the front of that field, we'll see what they can do here. See another beautiful red WINSTEL 400 car here. This is going to be in the middle of the pack here.
It's the same one.
This is Doucette. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I just saw the red without the yellow, and I just lost where we were for a second.
I was about to say, Doucette's also been everywhere across the field, it seems. He has Matt Skipper on the box, also a WINSTEL regular. Seems to be trying to figure, does he want to be patient? Does he want to go? The car behind him, it's worth noting, William Boybert, does want to go and has nearly hit the back bumper of him 3 times this lap.
Yeah, Doucette is one of 4 drivers tonight with the live spotter. We could talk later about the benefits of that and how that works. But yeah, Matt Skipper, of course, tried to make his way into this race and failed in the last chance qualifier. Matt, of course, flipped in both races yesterday, so had a really rough weekend.
Already a bit more shuffling. Boybert again showing his hand, again saying, I want to go. This time he has Jeremy B. Davis going to go with him. No, Davis just left them out to dry to be able to build up the run for the middle line, now to 3. There it is, as Duano comes to block him.
Now, Race Control made it known to these drivers that calling off when you wanted to pit was important. You and I have heard nothing about that yet, but we are now starting lap 37. I would suspect any time now those calls will start coming out.
Going to be critical of that communication. Many of the drivers in the field tonight, at least 20 of them, are working together. Then you have a contingency of about 5 or 6 working together. Then another 3 working with Andrew Cootie and company, along with Alex Koenigks. So, for the most part, a lot of people grouped together. Yes, you've seen a lot of smoke there. You speak of Alex Koenigs' name, a lot of smoke in turn pops up from the wall. Kyle Benson may or may not have been that trigger from it.
Yep. And we just got the word Brendan McGee will be one of the first ones to come down, JP. He has made the pitting call.
Here they go. The pit window is open. McGee had led a majority of the laps to start off this race. Leading the bottom line for a lot of time as well was Baker. Philip Snipes led for a little bit prior to that stop 2 laps. And they are about to lap Cody a second time already, by the way. Cody electing to stay under the yellow line. And for those who have watched WINSTEL in the past, remember there is a yellow line exception, so to speak, where you can drive underneath it with common sense.
Yeah, and I suspect that will come.
And I think something just happened with the common sense part over the radio. Cody just about crossed that yellow line in through turn 3 and just about doored the side of at least 2 cars.
Yeah, I was about to make a point. I was like, oh, there's something happening. No, that yellow line will probably more so come into effect at the end of the race, JP, versus the middle of the race. We don't see it too often mid-race if people want to get down there, but into the race, we might see it come up here. And we see the leaders now come up on another lapped car here.
That's one straight out of the pit lane.
That's McGee, I believe.
No, indeed, that was Brian Baker. Yes, there is Snipes and McGee working together. And why that combination could be very important to think about? They worked a lot together in super speedway racing with Talladega. Seen the next-gen car here last week. Here comes the rest of the game.
And talk about something really quick here as these guys are going to come down to pit road, JP, that just happened for Snipes and McGee. Those cars crossed in front of them to get to pit road. That's got to be a scary moment to see that happen because that's just a move of finesse that can go horribly wrong.
Again, that's where communication is so critical. That time, 12-13 cars coming in. Kyle Benson coming in this time. Christian Budd, Ben Hancock. Also coming in will be Jonathan Hernandez. So is Junior from the back to the front. See if Garrett Lowe, he will play this out right. He's also called it in for the stops. Here they go. Dylan Alt stays out. Almost everybody else in that train coming in this time for lap 40. So is Junior slides it in just under the speed limit for his box.
That is impressive that he got away with that.
He missed
Justin.
it.
Well, he missed the box, but what I meant by getting away with it, because no black flag there for speeding, and if I had to have taken a guess right there or put some money on it, that definitely looked like a speeding call, but he apparently got it wound up just in time.
More lap traffic to deal with. Alex Bates amongst those coming out the pit lane. More calls over the radio. James Holzer, William Boisvert, along with Michael Sturgill amongst those ready to come in this time.
Osman Yoneshu joining in, sorry.
There they go. That leaves just a couple drivers who are able to extend the gas. Alt, Holzer, McKissick, Boisvert. Back to check that. Just Dylan Alt amongst those who have not yet pit. Dylan Alt saved 1 lap more of gas than everybody else in the field.
Yeah, this is where this strategy isn't, and this is why I mentioned an endurance race, like a road racing, Justin. I know we're at the Oval. When you're the only driver who saved that lap, and you're the only driver who's going to pit alone, I don't think you saved anything. And that's with all due respect to Dylan Alt. You're going to go in alone. You're going to come out alone. There'll be no draft. I'm not sure what you saved yourself here. It's very unlikely this pays off in the way Dylan Alt wants. I guess we're going to find out when this all comes back around.
Disaster for William Boisvert. He missed his pit stall and will have to come back in this time. There goes Dylan Alt. And it'll be the last driver to pit on the lead cycle. 2 wide down on the access road as everybody looks to take advantage.
You know, JP, and something I want to talk about as we finish our first round of pit stops here is how important it is to practice pit road entrance. I think that's one of the most under-practiced and undervalued skills in the iRacing service. How well you're able to get on and off of pit road really does matter, and really can be the difference of a couple seconds on track. Some drivers who aren't experienced, you start rolling up way too early, and you're just so down on speed, you're giving up time. Of course, the flip side is you don't get wound up at all, and you get the speeding penalty, but doing that correctly can be a big difference in how you perform on the iRacing service.
Seen drivers gain as much as 3 seconds, keep in mind, on some of those pit entries, absolutely. So the last of the drivers have pit. Dylan Alt coming out, 2 full speed now down the back straightaway. Sean Pellig has cycled to the net race lead with the help of Emily Howe, Nicholas Doucette, Tyler Head. Leading the bottom line is that 53 of Brendan McKissick. So most of the field has taken to what we've seen at the end of the Gen 6 era. It's time to run the top against the safer barrier.
we'll see how long this lasts for, JP. At some point, someone will want to move to the bottom and try something. Not everyone's okay being a follower. Some people want to be leaders. And that'll show through at some point, or someone will make a move. It'll happen, but yeah. And we already see 2 or 3 guys on the bottom. We'll wait and see if they can get caught up here or find any help.
Parker Alexander looking up on that bottom side, specifically with McKissick. There was just 1 speeding penalty during the pit stop sequence, should say. Again, at 54 seconds in the box, mentioned Boisbert missed his stall and is now out of the lead pack 37 seconds behind. The top 14 able to build about a 1.1, 1.2 second cushion for now over the rest of the field. 15th to 25th. Then Baker fell back to 26th, 3 seconds longer in the lane.
Yeah, and then also speaking of falling back, if we can go ahead and look at Dylan Alt for just a moment. Dylan Alt is all the way back now to 23rd, JP.
After
about 3 seconds back.
After saving the most fuel, yes. So as a result, the track position going the way of the 12 in the once again 83.
So I'm just going to come back to it. I mean, JP, you've done a lot of racing yourself. Do you believe that saving that extra lap by yourself does anything?
Possibly a big picture move when you think about it for the if it stays green. Because break it down this way. That first stint when it comes to Dylan Altaz, they've closed up to the pack 42 laps. Add that up. 84 for the next pit stop if you can hit that mark again. If not around, say, 80. That's halfway. Can't necessarily cut out a pit stop, Derek, but you can potentially give opportunities, you have to think, for less fuel later on. But brace the tires.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. That maybe you're trying to cut that final pit stop time. But if you're doing it with no draft, I mean, luckily Dylan has found his way back into a draft line there. You do that again, now that you're this far back, and I'm just concerned that won't continue to be the trend. Is all I'm saying.
Bottom line is reformed up, as to be expected with those 2 committing to the bottom. Leading that group right now is Alexander. And the interesting paint scheme when it comes to that car, it's a throwback if you think back to the early 2000s. Dave Blaney comes to mind, for example, in the 93. But it's not the logo you think it is. There's an initial BP on Alexander's car, but it's the person BP, Benny Parsons, as the logo, but the caution is out. Someone has spun in 33rd. It's Justin Melillo on his own.
And this, we'll have to wait and see the replay what's going to happen, Justin. This might be just a testimony about the setup we were talking about.
He was the closest in the vicinity. I think he might be around the spot. He was not the cause of the caution, rather. He was in the pack that did have it. Everett F. Lane, I should say, in the 99, who was in 33rd last time, was the spin, Derek. Take a look at the replay. Small pack who lost the pit stops. Christian Budd with the push.
Christian Budd with the uneven push, I think is the more important part, JP. If we could look at it again in slow motion, you're going to find out that what happened there was that one of them was what was moving back and forth. I don't know if it was Budd or Lane. Let's look at it again here. Wait, let's see.
Not lined up.
No, you're right. It's not about moving. Sorry, it's not lined up. You're correct. And when you make that push on these cars, or really any car for that matter, you have to push evenly. That's why if you ever do truck racing and iRacing, you'll see some drivers actually paint a line down the middle of their back bumper so you know where that line is, because that's what happened. That uneven push led to that.
In the lucky dunk spot, Joe's Chatelaine. Turn 41 drivers expect to be on the lead lap after these pit stops. Everybody coming in. Drivers win, some of them as far as 9 laps. Couple went 11. McGee amongst them. Pellig overrunning his stall to start off this pit window. We'll see if anybody mixes up the strategy. Can already say Tyler Head has, and a couple others on 2 tires. 2 tires is the WINSTEL pit stop special. Just about everybody on 2 tires. Nicholas Doucette leads them off the lane overhead. Baker, Robertson, Lowe.
That's more what I think we think of as a traditional super speedway stop, Justin, is 2 tires at a time. So it makes sense to do it here when we're only about 9-10 laps into a run, maybe. So we'll wait and see how that plays off. Do want to make a note as we're watching people come off pit road. Andrew Cootie is still fighting the good fight and now has gone around the leaders, and he will get one lap back under this caution to put himself back one lap down.
And Justin Egnan will take the wave, can confirm, under the caution. Take a quick break. The 11th running of the WINSTEL 400. Coming up to lap 50, this time by here on FTFGG. Coming back to the green flag this time by WINSTEL 400. Ghost Prince Derek Watson with you here on FTFGG with our producer Zach Johnson. In the lead for this restart is Nicholas Doucette, Tyler Head, Dylan Roberts, Garrett Lowe, Sean Pellick, the top 5. Pellick holding on to the top 5 despite a pit stop mistake. Parker Alexander's the first driver on 4 tires in the field. The drivers who took 4, majority are populated at the edge of the top 20. Green flag's back out, 110 laps to go this time. We're back on our way from Daytona. Our head with a good jump yet again. Garrett Lowe with a good push off the launch, Derek.
Yep, a great push off the jump there, Justin. I was excited to see that restart to see how those tires would hold up. You know, in the LCQ about an hour or two ago here on FTF.GG, we saw some tire spin on tires that weren't changed on pit stops. Everyone did well there. We got a good launch. We got a good push on the bottom. And we are definitely back to racing here on lap 51.
2 drivers did not make it in time. In fact, 3 to the pack. Everett Lane, the constant caution for the strike Christian Budd, Ryan Hill, all did not make this lead group. So this main pack currently is 39 cars deep, separated by 3 seconds. Some tempers over flaring over the radio. Koenig's trying to communicate amongst the lines. 3 wide, a couple rows deep. Here is why he is mad. He's off the track.
Yep, and if we back that up about maybe 10, 15 seconds, you'll see that he had some contact that put him off track.
Yeah, might be worth a look. We'll see once we get the chance. But he is down off the pace as a result of what appears to be an incident without a caution. Watch the orange and black Chevy. Well then. What was that about, friends?
Well, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that's why they're important, but oof, that's just a hard hit.
Justin Ignan was that driver, now losing the lead pack, working with James Holzer because of that. Big blocks and bobbles up at the point. Roberts
also,
trying to make a move. Here comes Doucette.
Sorry to cut up. I'm also going to keep an eye on Collinx, JP. There's no way he can have full power into that car. He's now our second candidate likely driving around, or one of many candidates maybe driving around, who need to find the ultimate time to use his fast repair after a contact like that.
Loud cover now over top the speedway, quickly approaching the 100 laps to go mark. Top line back to formation once again. Pellegrin trying to lead it, make it Emily Howe trying to lead it with the cut. Sean Butler. Remember he rode in the back earlier? It's time for him to go into focus mode. It's time to battle for third.
It's time for someone to hit the wall back there. Who was that?
Here's to be in the outside group, maybe, yes. See some of the drivers, Nicholas Doucette, Ryan Doucette should say, coming from the vicinity. Brian Baker amongst those just channeling in the vicinity. No caution though, we stay green. A couple drivers straggle behind the pack for a moment.
It's interesting to note, Justin, that while the broadcast viewers cannot hear it, we have a feed that lets us hear the chatter and the admin feeds from the race itself. And at lap 55, it's picked up a little bit. The tempers have picked up. The activity's picked up. A lot of, hey, please don't do that, or hey, knock that the hell off. It's really picked up in the past few laps.
Little bit dicey on the bump with the leaders. Nicholas Doucette getting a bump, Chevy on Chevy. There is that little bit of a pointed end that some people think about. But again, it's important to bump square.
Yeah, and that, every car has a slightly different model or model as far as the shape of it. But no matter what car you're in, that is the correct answer. If you always want to bump as square as humanly possible, you get to bumping too hard, especially on the right side, and you will send someone around, just like we saw earlier. So that's what makes bumping so hard. No matter who you are, you both have to be perfectly square, hold a perfect line, and just hope it goes well.
Hey, you like a little bit of shake and bake on the top line? Guess who's working together? The shake, Kevin McAdams, the bake behind them. Sean Butler looking to take the race lead for the first time today as a group. There goes McAdams. Give McAdams the lead. And with how close these two are, it's not a surprise to see them going tandem style on the super speedway like this.
No, it's really not. This is a case, Justin, where, friendship and teamwork extends well beyond iRacing for these two. These two are friends. They do some work here at FTF together. These two trust each other. And that's an important factor when you get into a race like this with someone. If you know someone and you trust them and you can communicate well and with simple words and few words, that's more important sometimes than other factors. And we're going to come up on a lap car here, Justin. You saw him in just the foreground of that shot a second ago. And we'll wait and see what happens here.
Collinx is that car, remember. Down on speed, his max speed is 176 miles an hour. There's the red and yellow car. He's choosing the top. 3 wide now for the rest of the pack. And that's the preference for some. Some like it up top. Into the wall goes Collinx for his group.
He really liked it up top, apparently. Yeah, no, listen, I'm a believer that the top lane works, and that's, a place. The good news is he held his line. So we always talk about when we're working with new drivers across different areas, be predictable. And that's what Collinx showed off there. Obviously, he's having a not fun race with that damage, but be predictable. He got up top. He stayed there. I mean, he sacrificed hitting the wall to make sure he stayed up there. The worst thing you can do as a slow car or a lapped car in this case is be unpredictable and move that car. So good job to Alex for doing the right thing there.
Starting to open up some pockets on the bottom side. Nate Stewart thinking about some space. Gap closes though. So right now, as a result of the caution, right now the pit window already extending past the halfway mark, Derek. So some thoughts maybe already could come into play. With how well some of these drivers on 2 are working so far, the only driver in the top 10 on 4 tires is Jose Solis Jr. on the inside line.
Yeah, I mean, my bigger thought about the caution that came out is obviously it wiped off the whole conversation about Dylan Alt. That's out the window now. He's now on level ground with everybody else. All that really does is probably just decrease the amount of time on that final pit stop. Would be the most I would think it does. But it's I don't know how that factors into the rest of the race, to be honest with you.
We'll have to wait and see as the conditions change. That's also a potential factor. The winds are a default north, 2 miles an hour today, towards the turn 2 banking. The track temp at 95 degrees currently. So, fairly cool for super speedways.
Yeah, very cool. I was going to say, that's something different as well. I mean, that 2 mile per hour wind, easy for me to say, is very minimal as far as how it's going to affect the cars here. This weather is a nice weather for this track. It's going to provide the best racing surface possible. We're still seeing McAdams and Butler lead this field around. I'm not surprised once they get up front. I mean, you see how comfortable McAdams is with Butler pushing like that. It's got to be such a great thing to have a friend behind you. Earlier, we were going to talk about spotters. And in this case, McAdams kind of has a spotter without having a spotter, because Butler can say, hey, this is what's going on behind us. Should we move lines? Should we stay here? It's a great thing. So I'm not excited. I'm not surprised to see these two sticking together at all. Are you?
Again, I'm not shocked. I think certain other people are not shocked either. Say the Jordan Wirfs of the world or the Davies Doobies car, like Davey Davis. Once that group, whenever they're up, what is it, a quartet? If it's 4?
That would be correct. That'd be a quartet, yep, like a barbershop.
They always find their way to the front of the super speedways and have fun doing so, right?
Yeah, these are really talented guys. And that's one thing that I love about WINSTEL as a whole, whether it be this 400 event or whether it be the WINSTEL, league that we're going to feature here on FTF, is the talent involved in an event like this. I mean, you hinted at it at the opening of this show tonight. There's former Coke drivers. Hold on, caution.
It's at the very back of the pack, 21st on back. Several have spun into the grass. Caution is out as there's the 60. Jeremy Stanley involved in this machine in what has turned into our second caution of the day. After a stack up, it appears on the top line, taking out 21st to 33rd.
Yeah, we'll wait and see the replay here to see what happened. Here it comes. Go ahead, Justin.
Watch the checkup, and then kablamo. What can you do?
Really nothing at that point. This is what Emily Howe talks about, and I think that's Justin Milolo in the back there. I don't know how much damage he got from that. Let's take a look. See him up on the high side here in the back of the shot.
Ran to the back of McGee.
You want to talk about the opposite of what we talked about earlier. You talked about, there's Justin right there. I think he might be okay. I'd have to look and see. You want to talk about the opposite of McAdams and Butler on Super Speedways. Talk about Justin Milolo. It doesn't seem to matter what race he's in. He has the worst luck at finding Rex, or Rex finding him in some cases. He's shown up in his Twitter. We see it in broadcast. Justin just has a hard time avoiding trouble at these tracks.
Not going to disagree with some of the events in the past. But now, this changes the strategy dynamics a bit. 96 to go this time. Pit window / lane is open for those who take it after 16 laps. Not a surprise, the leader's coming in to top off again.
No, so now we're going to find out what the drivers really think of the tires and the setup, JP. Do they take 2 tires again? If so, are they taking the same 2 tires? Or now do we watch 4 tire stops happen as we're watching them come down pit road here?
So in they come. We'll see how many drivers take 2. There's already 1 stop for 2. Jeremy B. Davis taking the 2 tires. Just about everybody else starting to take 4. So most drivers are preferring the grip after reaching nearly halfway to the fuel run, except for Davis and Nate Storr.
Yeah, that's what I suspected. If we're talking about how the tires are wearing and how handling is a problem, you can't keep taking 2 tires, I don't think. So I'm not surprised, but most drivers have done this. Sometimes, though, if you're a Jeremy Davis or if you're a Nate Stewart, you have to take a shot sometimes and see if you can put yourself in the front of the field, get out of the middle of the field, and maybe that's what they've done here with this call, or maybe they're surprised by what happened behind them. They may have thought everyone else was going to take 2 as well.
It was even more than that. He took fuel only. Just got confirmation in. So that was after he missed part of his pit stall even to still come out with the lead. But indeed, Nate Stewart did take the 2 tires, as referred to, in the 5th position. Everybody else on 4. So now we'll see if the answer's going to shake it up. Davis has chosen the bottom.
I was going to say, I think now the story for Davis more so is watching that restart, JP. In the LCQ, we saw some drivers who had some problems on wheel spin when they didn't take tires after, I think, 15 or 20 laps. Now we'll have to wait and see what happens here with Jeremy Davis.
That's a great point, because in the final year or 2 of the active use of the Gen 6 car, that's a part of what they adjusted. You're right. Tire spin at the super speedways. Because before, it can be planted to be able to get on the gas, regardless if you had no tires, 2 tires, 4 tires. Not so much as of about 2021 Talladega.
So we'll wait and see what the strategy is for Davis here. Hopefully he's aware of this possibility. So we could see a slow restart. That's more likely to happen. I don't suspect we'll see him loop the car, Justin. But we might see him have a hard time getting moving.
I think it's the bigger question. The top line's been the better line in the restarts. Why choose the bottom?
There's a few reasons for this. Some drivers really prefer the bottom line, even if the top line moves better. Because, first off, that yellow line really can act as a boundary, as a visual aid. More, it might be the better response to that, of where to run the line on the track. Maybe if you suspect you're going to have problems, maybe you want to be on the bottom. Or maybe you just believe you can get the bottom moving. Maybe you believe you are the new trendsetter that makes it happen. So I think the 2 stories here to watch in this restart, as you're going to call it here, Justin, is what happens to Davis, and what about that car behind him? Are they wondering about the wheel spin?
So Jeremy B. Davis, Kevin McAdams, Sean Butler, Nicholas Doucette, Nate Stewart, the top 5, Emily Howland 6, Roberts, Pellig, McKissick, Hernandez wants the top 10 for the restart. Right now, get ready for the green flag. Only 1 car is a lap down, Alex Koenigs, who is still 1 down. Everybody else here been able to group up. It's coming up to the line now. Green flag is out. Small bobble from Davis. How does this play out now for that top line? How about a side draft attempt that nearly leads to a dooring?
Talking about old tires, that was a good sign. Look at how he had a hard time getting back down, Justin.
The bottom line starting to pick up steam now that he's up to speed. Butler all over his rear end on the Ford. Big checkup from Stewart. The top line is rolling, though.
I don't think Butler has a lot of patience here, Justin.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to go. Where does he go is the question. He's trying to push ahead. He has McAdams potentially to get in front of if he can push Davis clear somehow.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's doing a great job at pushing Davis here. We're watching here this great onboard here from the top of the roof of Butler here. That was a good shot by our producer, Zach Johnson. And we're going to see, they're going to keep up here. They're side by side for the lead here.
Here comes the chance. There's Davis clear. Does Butler go up top? Yes, indeed. But big block by Davis. Davis cuts back to the bottom. Nate Stewart takes it to the middle. Davis tries to block him. Into the second hole goes Nate Stewart. To the inside goes Hernandez under the yellow line. Top Head gives him space, but Hernandez nearly spins it either way. Crash behind. There goes Ryan Doucette. Caution is out. Justin Malone gets turned.
That is so crazy, Justin, because there was so much going on at once, but it's hard to believe that you could link those 2 things together because of the gap between those cars. But that all really kicked off when Davis moved up and tried to make that block. I think it was ill-advised for the record. I would have stayed in the bottom lane and kept my draft, but that has nothing to do with this wreck, in my opinion.
Yeah, Hernandez did a solid job to save it. What caused the trouble is this checkup Wow, that was physics. And wow, that was the bad luck for Malillo again.
Yeah, I mean, that was one basically full lap of just chaos of people moving and swerving and trying to adjust and check up and everything. Let's see it again here.
Yeah, here's the initial checkup. And there it is right there with the 86. That's Evan Locke.
Was Locke maybe trying to just anticipate something coming back and moved up? Or I don't know. Or maybe he got spooked by what was happening. Because listen, it's easy for us to watch from, thousands of feet above and go, oh, what was he doing? But when you're in that car, that reaction time, Justin, of how much time you have to react to a car spinning, especially in a corner at Daytona, is basically none. You just have to make a decision and go with it. And sometimes you make the wrong decision and you bump cars like that.
You blow motors, several pit stops, including McKissick Reynolds low this time by. So about what will be around 23rd on back, just about. Lecton coming to pit, several more fast repairs ready to be used here.
Yeah, I was going to... Okay, sorry.
I was about to say, in the case of Malillo, we talked about his bad luck in the super speedways in the past. There's a saying I've seen through past NASCAR quotes. I believe it might have been Mike Bliss, where if it was even raining dollar bills, he would get hit by a silver dollar. That's how his luck was.
See, I had the different quote, which is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's definitely Justin Malillo's super speedway history lately is more of that style. But I was going to make a note. You mentioned fast repairs. We've talked about the 9 of Andrew Cootie earlier. He has used his fast repair, by the way, and he is back on the lead lap.
Alex Connick's also got the lucky dog this caution after using the fast repair last time around for the yellow. So we're back under yellow. 21st on back, electing to pit. Sean Butler ready to choose the top when we come back to the green. Just a couple moments. The WINSTEL 400, the 11th running, continues after this with 90 laps to go. Welcome back to FTFGG for more coverage of the WINSTEL 400 from Daytona. Get ready to restart with 89 laps to go. Sean Butler and Kevin McAdams on the front row, continuing to shake and bake. We're just 34 days away from the Bar Visuals FTF 500 here at this facility. For more information on how you can run, go to ftf.gg. Once again, the Bar Visuals FTF 500. Be there. Just about getting ready for the restart. With this time into the caution, fuel strategy, if it goes green, could become a talking point, Derek, since drivers are about 6 laps away from making it in terms of on 2 stops.
Yeah, so we could see some drivers in the back who are willing to lay back and lift and see what happens here and see how that goes. These 2 guys up front, McAdams and Butler, likely not going to do that. I guess we're going to wait to see which one makes room for the other here in the restart, though, Justin.
Find out who wants to be the leader, who wants to be the follower. This time around, Butler takes the green flag in the restart zone. Back underway. And it looks like Emily Howe electing to give him space on the top side. The top 3 with a big jump. Given there was a technical issue in the back of the pack, Dylan Alt had to pull to the apron for a moment, coming to the green flag. as he could not see where the cars were. Still able to hold on to positions, but he's 28th.
Yep, still able to hold on that position. Good job there. I do want to make a note up front. Obviously, McAdams and Butler have already gotten back together. There were some complaints from other drivers that maybe they jumped the start. Nothing has come of that, so I don't suspect that's going to pan out. But these two are going to quickly lead here with Emily Howe right behind them.
So now the top line really starting to form up. Helig trying to work second car to Dylan Roberts on that inside line. Amonsto's also cutting ahead Aaron Smith II, who has been involved in some incidents as well. Well, the FTF 500 car of Yonishu working ahead. Here comes the chance for the lead. Nicholas Doucette pushes Emily Howe to the inside.
Beautiful push here by Doucette all over Emily Howe. Now, these are two FTF regulars working together, right? Or not FTF, but WINSTEL regulars working together and making that push happen. Now, are they going to pull back up? No. They're going to continue to lead the bottom line. They are clear. They could move up if they wanted to.
They choose to lead the bottom line. Butler and McAdams choosing to lead the top line. They picked up Jeremy Davis to help them along too, despite the older tires. 39 drivers in this main pack. Maluo, Boisvert, and Koenig's the only drivers outside of Baker who have lost touch of the lead group. 3.4 seconds separating them, just 6 laps away, this time by from halfway. I have to say, with how impressive some of the drivers have been today, one of the thoughts has to go the way, too, of Solis Jr. We've talked about him a couple times here and there, up 23, just biding his time, waiting for the holes to open, especially with some of the shuffling in front of him.
Yep, some of the shuffling is happening, but I think it's all starting to calm down, Justin. Remember, we had a very calm race for the first, 40, 50 laps here, and now we saw a few wrecks in a row here. So I'm curious to see if we can calm this race back down and keep it green for a while. It looks that way. By the way, look at this bottom lane now moving. They are now 3, almost 4 car lengths ahead of the top lane. Considering the top lane has been dominant all day, this is a little bit of a surprise.
It helps when Nicholas Doucette has not left the back bumper of Howe for the most part until now for air.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. It's like, he probably needs to get some air in that car.
Remember, the next-gen car, no tape allowed on the grille with how the aerodynamics are built for the car. These cars, you do have tape.
Yeah, and that's actually something that's set here in the setup. The drivers can't change that, so everyone's going to deal with the same cooling and heat problems. Every driver has that digital dashboard, and they'll get that red blinking number about, when the temps are too hot. The typical theory is until that number starts blinking, don't back off. Just keep pushing, Justin.
Push, push, push. Still looking to see lines play out. Also, amongst those drivers cutting ahead, trouble down in turn 1. Tommy Gossett has turned Ryan Hill. No caution yet. We stay green. Still no caution. There it is.
And it's interesting because there was just some chatter that maybe you heard as well, Justin, where Gossett and Hill were having some conversations about pushing. I can't repeat that comment. About pushing and drafting and bumping. And Gossett wasn't happy with the pace Hill was having. And I'm curious to see if that played into it.
Tommy Gossett taking claim for the caution. That was the pack battling for 35th. Here's a look at what triggered the yellow.
Oh, my goodness.
He's already apologized on the radio.
And you should apologize for that. I'm sorry to say it that way, but the first wreck we saw tonight with uneven pushing, you could say, that was a little off. This is completely off, Justin. My goodness.
Leads to the question, what happened earlier through 3 and 4 per se for that?
Oh, no. Look out, Justin.
Oh.
He survived one.
You know, he got hit by another silver dollar.
It's like a late Christmas miracle for Justin Malillo.
So Malillo rides alongside Alex Kalanick. And we're under yellow again. Some drivers 14 laps into runs, some of them about 9. And now this could make it a 2-stopper if it goes green regardless.
You read my mind, Justin. About to say the same thing. This takes that whole question out of it. We're now down to a 2-stopper from here. Let's see who pits. So the leader does not. Emily Howe's going to stay out, Justin.
Emily Howe, so far the only player in the field to say, let's keep the track position, despite being the leader already. And now, pit stop time for just about everybody in the pack. Everett F. Lane, the only car to join Howe. Doucette overruns the box. Already, some drivers taking just fuel only or 2 tires.
I have to be honest, after seeing what we just saw a little bit ago with this whole tire thing playing out, this feels like, you know, what's that line from the song by The Who? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. This is all that's in my head is, can Emily Howe now control that field and that car with the older tires?
There are the 2 cars we just talked about who stayed out of the racetrack. The race off the pit lane was Davis with fuel only again, Butler, Doucette, Nicholas Doucette, McKissick, McAdams, along with Yonishu, and Parker Alexander, the first on 4 tires, again was Dylan Roberts. And now it becomes the question, as the EOL is given to Tommy Gossett, how's this going to play out for some with the damage? Because what was the saying Howe said? Stay at the front, stay out of trouble? That has been the smart play so far.
I mean, it has to a certain extent. Luckily, the block we saw involving Davis and McAdams and Butler didn't lead to trouble, but it was almost there. But yes, it does seem statistically like, you know, being up front is it. And maybe that's why Emily stayed out, because she wants to make sure she's ahead of everything. You know, the difference now, though, is at some point, how do pit stops play out? Because you said, you know, that caution and that pit stop probably makes it a 2-stop race. For Emily Howe, maybe not.
Definitely not. Same for Lang. They're right now on the 3-stop risk, needing a caution. Peleg, Snipes, McGee amongst those topping off this time. Want to go signal again. Howe has now led 17 of 79 laps. Of course, Emily Howe getting ready to lead this halfway point. A big part of this year's edition of the WINSTEL 400. A lot of discussions involving the contributions this season. In fact, Emily Howe contributed a big portion of this year's purse, as talked about in the drivers' meeting before tonight.
Yeah, and also talked about, I believe, by Brendan McGee in the interview he did on the Pace Laps. Hey, if you want to save yourself some money, Emily, this is how you do it. Just win the race you contributed to, and it's, you know, that's a good day.
Remember, Emily Howe is someone who loves WINSTEL action and is making strides in eNASCAR College Series competition. She hosted the EA Howe 500, remember, during the summer.
Yeah, and Emily, along with Parker Alexander, and I forget who the third person is, will make up the DEI contingent of the WINSTEL League when we get there in a month or so, running those DEI paint schemes from 2003.
Yeah, drivers got the chance to choose the respective numbers and be able to select, okay, which cars they want to be in reference to Emily Howe. E-Car 15, Car 8, Dylan Roberts to work with in the DI contingency. You also throw Parker Alexander in that contingency, indeed. So
I believe he'll be running the 1 car.
Yes, Alexander the 1 car. So, here we go again. Halfway through the WINSTEL 400, Emily Howe brings into the green, back underway from Daytona. Big push already to the fast lane racing car on the outside groove. Butler trying to push him ahead, get some space. Howe leaves the inside with the help of Davis. And all the cars in the pack able to gather up in time for this restart. And a huge tandem draft. Butler to Lane to push them clear by a sizable margin. McKissick along with Yonishu getting clear. Dylan Roberts nearly got clear as well. Now they scatter into 3.
Yep, scattering they have. Now, what we're seeing different here so far from Emily compared to what we saw earlier, she's doing a good job, made some better choices, and able to hold her own in this line despite those older tires. Wrecking is again in the back of the field, Justin.
Heart of the pack, and there goes the 22. Jose Solis Jr. slammed into the side by car 8. Malou involved yet again. Tommy Gosson involved. And we're back under yellow. It's the big one. Part 1.
It's a big one. I'm not sure if we're done yet, Justin.
Hence the part 1.
Yeah, of maybe 5 or 6. Who knows? Hopefully not. We'll wait and see what happens here. That was basically the whole middle of the field on back right there. And as was just said by Ryan Hill, it's not even go time yet. What are you guys doing?
Well, what happened down into the tri-oval? Solis Jr. took a ride because watch this middle.
Oh.
Nearly upside down. Some of the worst damage of the day so far. And there comes the 8 car. Slamming to the side, Alex Bates.
The little insult to injury afterwards. But they were 3 wide there. And then one of them hooked Solis, I believe, at the end of this. Let's watch it again here.
I believe that was the 60 up in front of this. Stack up the 6 going up the middle. That's Ben Hancock. And around they go. Hernandez may or may not have a pit penalty. He was inside of the green cone. Maluo, who took the fast repair earlier, runs into the side in turn in the smoke. William Boisvert, 42nd now. 47 cars stacked up, one of the 2 already to the pit lane.
Yeah, now what will clean this race up a little bit, Justin, is 2 things. In the beginning of the race, we talked about there being a strike system. 2 strikes and you're out. This is like advanced baseball or extreme baseball. So if you are deemed to be the cause of 2 cautions, you are parked. That has been the system all weekend. And so there, I think it was 1 or 2 drivers who had a strike coming into this race. That will begin to rear its ugly head here soon, I fear. Also, once these fast repairs are used, you see Emily Howe going down that time, by the way. Once these fast repairs are used and drivers are not able to repair these cars, this race will thin out. And I think then it will calm down when people realize they have to drive responsibly because they have no safety net left.
So a majority of the drivers coming in for top-offs this time. And the 2-strike system has hit Ben Hancock. We talked about it pre-race, right before the green flag. Through the whole weekend, the strike system carries over. Ben Hancock has got his 2nd strike of the week. He is done. Hancock trying to get the damage repair done, but it's on strike 2, Derek.
Yep. We're going to wait and see what happens here. See if he speaks up and see if he appeals it. But that is the call from race control. 2 strikes.
And the confirmation is coming in terms of how that restart played out when it was Butler and McAdams, the control cars, to clarify the green flag through the box, as well as how they're lined up to make sure it's even between the 2 and not staggered.
During the last chance qualifier, we saw Tyler Head here in the booth talking and commentating on that race and having a real friendly and conversational side. His less friendly side is coming out as race control right now, reminding these drivers, we did 60 laps clean. Let's get back to that.
So getting ready to take the 1 to go signal this time by. Of those who have pit so far, who can make it on just a couple more stops, only 1 has not elected to take that option, Everett Lane. Everybody else is on that window. Lane lines up inside for now. McKissick, Butler, along with Yonishu, Benson, McAdams, Budd, Snipes, Baker, Doucette, the top 10.
Yeah, and sorry, JP, we were both near in our ears, so I don't know if you covered it as well. Tyler Head is also reminding these drivers that unless you are avoiding something, there's no passing before the line here. You need to stay in line, and once you reach that start-finish line, that's your go time, not beforehand.
Correct. So with that, the disqualification is confirmed. Ben Hancock is done for the WINSTEL 400 for 2023.
And I believe that is the only driver who came into this race with a strike, Justin. So other than the people who've claimed the caution sign, Tommy Gossett was one of them, and some others. But yeah, we're getting there, and that was weird timing. I had not confirmed or looked to see that the 6 was the cause of that caution, so I didn't know that was going to come up when I brought that up. But that's proof that the system works.
75 laps to go when the green flag flies this time. Right now, 39 cars still in the lead lap for the time being. Van Hancock was the 40th. Now we get to see this plays out. Currently, McKissick is the highest running eNASCAR driver for the Coke Series. In second, Alt, Lowe, and Ryan Doucette have all found each other 20th to 22nd. Brian Baker is coming back from a 1-minute pit stop earlier in this race as well. Now lined up in ninth spot. Do this again. Green flag is out. We're back underway. And a bit of tire spin for Lane. Butler there to help save him. Got dead even off the push this time, but McKissick looking to side draft hard this time, pulling back Lane. Can't get it fully though. Koenig selects to pull the ejector cord. Everybody else remaining 2 by 2 down the back straightaway. 74 to go this time.
Yeah, you know, the danger for what McKissick did, besides the fact that it's side drafting, is that if everyone behind you doesn't know you're going to make that move and try to side draft, you can really break the drafting momentum or the line momentum of your line when you move down like that. And so it can be hard here. We'll see them catch back up. I believe in, Brandon. I believe, of course, he's got, I think that's, is that Butler or McAdams behind him? He's got a good crew behind him. Of course, he's got Cosman right behind him. So we'll wait and see what happens here.
Mentioned some of the NASCAR drivers grouped together. Some different philosophies taken by them. Garrett Lowe is already charged ahead to 17th on the bottom side. Dylan Alt trying to work in the middle. Now he's back to the bottom. Same can be said for Ryan Doucette, who's now grouped behind Nate Stewart, currently around 27th. And that just seems to be the 3 differences in opinion of front, back, or middle in the preferences or where you can find a spot, it seems.
Yep, and then not currently an eNASCAR driver, retired Blake Reynolds, retired driver, already a 2-time winner of this race, up in 13th here. You can see him in that orange car in the top line. So just, different strategy. You saw someone make the lane change there.
That was Philip Snipes taking a little bit of an aggressive move. Blake Reynolds takes his gap on the top side. You're 3 wide behind him. Reynolds elects to keep it 2 wide for a moment. Joseph lines behind him with Jeremy Stanley. And there's that third line. You've seen the peak of it, that pink and blue. James Holzer's trying to peel everybody off the wall like paint chips.
Yeah, James Holzer, very talented driver. Not only did he race his way in tonight, was one of the finalists last year, or one of the final top drivers for the WINSTEL Gen 4 Challenge last year here on FTF.GG. So he knows what he's doing. He'll gather a following. People will trust him. And, he may not have that fatigue of the track like others do. He's still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed after only doing 50 laps so far, or 50 miles here so far on the track, compared to 700 miles some had done before this race began.
There goes the third line trying to form up a minute. Instead, everybody is trusting in Nicholas Doucette up top. This time, McKissick hooking up to him. Want to build up that momentum. And the big thing to mention is Christian Budd had to come from the back to the front after, remember, was a trigger for a caution, Derek, but he charged his way up from 36 spots now.
He has indeed. I was going to mention as well, what really happened with that top lane, Justin, is that what was the middle lane decided to move up and join the top lane. They took 2 lines and merged it into one, and that's sort of what you might say killed, his Holzer's momentum to get up there. But that's caused this top lane to maybe stay in touch a little bit here. But they're trying it again. There's some checkups in the top lane.
Ryan Baker wants to be a lead car. After 1 minute of damage repair, Baker has a chance to lead the grouping. This may trigger a 3 wide. Already a bit of a parachute in the midst of the corner. Now slides up the track, nearly drifting.
Yeah, usually after 1 minute of damage repair, Justin, you're not in a position where you can be leading like this. A fast repair, yes, but that kind of damage, no, typically not. They seem to have maybe got it worked out, but you can see that car's all over the back end of him. This is not comfortable for me. If I was behind it, I would not be thrilled about this.
Seems like the pushing from Doucette's helping down the straight line, Derek. I will say, despite the aero damage and the other potential damage underneath the hood. But it's the corner speed that seems to be the problem. There's a bit of a bobble behind. Caution.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that car go way down in the grass here, and I think just out of camera shot through the corner.
And involved that orange car seen with a stack up. Also involved is this car, the 90 of Michael Sturgill. Part of the trigger for the caution, Hayden Ripes, today's race control, along with several others, calling the caution. As you'll see, coming into turn 3 though, checkups are huge. This checkup was a bit huge in the back. Looks fine for the leaders, right?
It does, it's right there. Where is it?
There's the orange car that was a part of the checkup.
We'll have to get a different shot of it, I think, because that's already past it. We'll have to get a different shot of it and see what happened. But yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm not even sure if that was just a premature caution call, because I don't see anything here. It's going to be this orange car on the bottom lane here in that last camera shot. There it is. Oh. Well,
that's why.
That is why, although I would say that with all due respect to the 57 and due to race control, I think there was anticipation of more that caused that caution, because we've seen worse things tonight, Justin, that weren't a caution.
So we're under caution yet again.
Oh, we had a fake out. Who was that? Let me get it. Was that Doucette?
Nicholas Doucette, Christian Budd, Brian Baker stay out. Butler's in. Benson's in. Also coming in amongst those.
Yeah, if I can ask our producer, Zach Johnson, to back up like maybe 20 seconds, maybe 30 at this point, and watch Doucette. He tried to fake out the field in his pit stop call. He just sort of, at the very last second, almost cut it through the grass to get that done.
Let's take a look at what you've seen. And Lane was the lead car.
Get back here a little bit. There he is.
Oh my goodness, tower head nearly cut the grass.
And almost hit the car behind him. That's like a 2-for-1 special, Justin.
I think Parker Alexander going up a little bit to say hi after that. Head now in 4th from staying out.
Yeah, that was Head, not Doucette. I apologize.
Wave around this caution, by the way. Going to Jose Solis Jr. Remember, he was involved in the incident, but then had a technical issue where he missed several laps. He's 8 laps down because of the tech issue, so he's getting away from race control. Believe it may have been Boyvert who was in the lucky dog spot, if not.
And listen, not to sound macabre or anything, but at the rate this race is going, Justin, maybe he's back on the lead lap before we're done.
You're predicting 7 more cautions.
I'm not predicting or hoping. I'm just saying at the trend we're going at, it's not out of the question.
Cautions breed cautions, right? Talked about it before today's race, too. Cautions can very much tend to happen here when it comes to this event. After all, we talked about this before today. In the history of this event, only twice has this finish of the WINSTEL 400 not gone to a green-white checker.
Oh, that's very true. I think the first running and then somewhere right in the middle of the 10. It's only 2 we've had that didn't go to a green-white checker. We do get 3 attempts at that tonight. So we'll wait and see if that happens. Of course, we saw one in the LCQ here a little bit ago. So we'll wait and see if one is needed. But hopefully not. Hopefully we can clean this up here and see what happens.
To go until the restart. Many drivers with the chance to become first-time winners of this event. Amongst those who have won in the past in the field. Blake Reynolds, as we talked about. Brandon Cruz Montsevice won in 2016. McKissick, who's been up at the front several times today. The closest he got for reference, 2nd in 2017 and a 3rd in 2021. Don't forget about drivers like Garrett Lowe and Ryan Doucette, who were amongst the top 5 in 2022.
Right. And of course, you mentioned Monsivice, having won previously. He is one of the other um, people who helps donate to the purse for this event and has his own Brandon Cruz DFS that he likes to, he does run with NASCAR Fantasy. So do check that out. Of course, he's running on a new computer this year, so he has actual frame rates. And said he was excited to get to experience this event in full frame rates. So we'll see if that helps him get to the front here as this event goes on.
Also been offering some personal viewpoints of just about everything iRacing from his personal podcast channel, the Brandon Cruz DFS. Your home for NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. For more information, visit his YouTube channel, Cruz55360. Back on our way. Doucette with a good launch, not so much for Baker. The top line falling apart. Big checkup shouted over the radio from it. Some drivers big time stacking up a bit and losing draft. Some on the apron, including Reynolds.
Yeah, it was maybe our worst checkup of the night so far as a restart's concerned, Justin. And some very upset drivers here on the voice chat, letting their displeasure be known at moves like that.
And to be expected, Brian Baker left out to dry by every friend around him. Nearly blocks McKissick for good measure, but McKissick drives to the outside. 3 wide up for the race lead nearly, as you see things stay 2 wide behind him. But a shake and bake there with McAdams finding a friend in Monsivice. Good settle down, though, after what could have been a bit of a stack-up effect, to say the least. Parker Alexander has a chance to lead the first time. Here's on board for the inside line behind McAdams. Monsivice currently 19th in the field, make it 18th. This time around, McAdams waiting behind Lane as this is faring out. Nicholas Doucette finished in the top 5 in this event in the past. Parker Alexander looking to try and lead for the first time, can't.
Yeah, making a great run, though. As you said, one of the first times tonight Parker has been up here or been this close to the lead. Parker is a great, talented driver, been in the service for a long time, has a lot of respect amongst the community for his skills, and so I'm not surprised to see Parker up here. And I think this time by, we might see Parker back the crop just a little, just barely ride the brakes. See if he can get a shove up into 17.
This pack is starting to significantly dissipate at the back, by the way. 31st on back. Lost touch. So it's about 29 cars in the lead group looking to settle forward. Some drivers having to pit in about 20 laps time. Down to 63 laps to go. First time today, Parker Alexander, P1 on the board. Remember how friends are where you find them? You mentioned the radio today. Everybody hates everybody today.
Yeah, that's the radio is something. Sorry, wow. And this is common. This is what happens in a race like this. High tempers, high stress, high emotions. No one's really mad at each other. It's just in that moment, in the bubble of what we're doing, it can be a little stress here.
At this point, the Rock and Sock'em Ice Cream Social after the race will have 43 drivers.
Yeah, and a couple spotters maybe.
At that point, we'd probably triple the account. All seriousness, no. But the mixture is strong. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so let's take that transition actually and move to a serious topic of spotters. I think there are 4 drivers in this race. Actually more, I apologize. So Hernandez, Cootie, Benson, Nicholas Doucette, Butler, and Garrett Lowe all have spotters with them tonight, helping with this event. That is, at times, I think, an unmeasured or an unspoken advantage in events like this. A real-life spotter versus an iRacing spotter is a massive difference of information about what you get. And so I'd be curious to see how these guys fare at the end of the night, Justin. Do you have a preference on a real-life or an iRacing spotter?
That's a good question.
Not everyone loves a real-life spotter.
It depends on the level, right? If you're up into, say, racing in the pro levels or a major event, human spotter could be very helpful instead of a robot. In some cases, he may prefer the virtual spotter. What's your preference?
I prefer the in-person spotter, but it's sort of an extension of the conversation earlier from Butler and McAdams, because you can't just have a spotter. And what I mean by that is it has to be someone you trust, someone you communicate with, someone where words, you can use less words than what maybe you don't say, hey, there's a car up high. You can say up high, or you can say, up, and everyone knows what you mean. The less words you can use as a spotter, the better. And that trust to say, hey, you're low, get down now. You have to be able to trust that spotter to know they're making the right call, or it'll cost you a race.
Outside line starting to gain some ground with the help of snipes. And that number of spotters actually has grown as the day's gone on, because now Nicholas Doucette has Ryan Keim, along with Matt Skipper. But here's an important name to think about on the spotter stand who's had special event wins and some super speedway eNASCAR wins. Brandon Kittel is now in Butler's box.
Yeah, and that's a very experienced driver. That's someone I'd love to have as a spotter. Brandon's been a part of the eNASCAR broadcast. He's been a Coca-Cola driver. That's great stuff right there to have. But yeah, not anyone. I mean, I've had spotters who I trust, and I've had spotters who I had no rapport with, and the experience is vastly, vastly different, Justin, between those two things. So I would encourage everyone to try spotting. It's a skill that is hard. It's not as easy as it looks, but a very valuable skill if you're good at it.
Yes, you were not seeing things wrong. 4 wide into 3 in that moment. Emily Howe's getting a little bit dicey in the blocks.
Yeah, that's when that spotter voice gets a little higher and a little four. That's when they get a little nervous.
Towerhead with the Muncho's car, trying to munch his way through the holes. There goes Jeremy B. Davis losing ground. The top forms up well. Does anybody move to the middle and turn to try and see if they can boost a run? No. Alexander still has the advantage. Nick Doucette still on the inside. But now I think the urgency button's been pressed by a couple cars, because some drivers are pitting soon. Some are just getting started on the stint.
I mean, the fact they were 4 wide is an idea that means we are getting ready to push that urgency button. But I would want to stop and say, great job by everyone involved there. 4 wide, they made it look easy. You and I both know 4 wide is not easy at Daytona or really any track here on the iRacing service.
Gonna say, for the top drivers on the platform, it takes a lot of confidence in not just yourself but your others to take it 3 wide or go 3 wide multiple rows deep. Have you seen a top split SOF race when it comes to a super speedway? It's 3 wide, several rows deep. You better know how to drive 3 wide.
Yeah, you better. And the benefit to those races typically is all those guys race around each other, and a lot of these guys all race around each other too. That's why you see the trust of going 3 wide or 4 wide. Is a lot of these guys know each other, they know how they race, and that's showing here. This, by the way, good job at Alexander here, staying up front here, and really helping lead this race.
The funny thing is, involving this 3 wide, remember how James Holzer had lost the draft for some of the cautions? He's leading that middle line, and it's starting to gain ground with his Kyle Petty-themed car, making inroads with Dylan Alt. Also lined up with him is Davis, also with him is Ted. Also grouping up as Reynolds as they start to check up for the squeeze.
During the last chance qualifier, we heard Parker Alexander say that was the way to go. That's what he believes is the correct way to make the move, is to get in the middle and move through the field. So obviously Holzer heard that, or maybe has talked to Alexander about that, is now trying to make it work here.
Lap traffic ahead, though. They may have to peel it back. Will the traffic move under the outline? Yes, so they still can stay 3 wide. All is well. Unless you're in the world of Kyle Benson, who wants to try and make a pass, but no one wants to go with them. Emily Howe, tango drafting, with Roberts McGee coming up as well. Into the second hole goes Benson. Up to 3rd and 4th goes Howe, battling with Nate Stewart. You can kind of see the chess matches and the chess pieces being tested here, Derek.
You can also see just the thought process moving amongst the drivers. Maybe you're Holster and you went, okay, so I went to the middle, that didn't work. You start to question why. Was it because that's just not the right lane? Is it because I didn't have a good pusher? Is it because I went too soon? And that data gets mentally written down, and you hope that it is more valuable maybe 40, 50 laps from now when you need to make that move again, and see if you can move to the front next time when you're ready to.
Here comes the chance. Howard's taking the lead as seen down the back. McGee, he's rode towards the back after leading 22 laps early. Now over the back end of Hal. McKissick hooking up with his former technical alliance mate Ryan Doucette. Now they are up to the top 5 again. And look at just how strong the tango is. This was seen in the final year of the package. It definitely works if you time it up right like this.
Now, the only problem with this tango package that we're seeing between these two drivers here with McGee and Howe, who of course are both, WINSTEL regulars and practice and race together, is remember something we've not discussed is I believe Howe is still off cycle. Am I right about this?
Well, with the caution, she's on cycle.
Oh, that's right. With the caution, she's back on cycle, of course. So that should be good for those drivers. Emily Howe's a very well-respected super speedway driver, so we'll wait and see what happens here. We're about 12 laps before that pit window opens for the final time, Justin.
That should be just enough time for most drivers to make it to the end on fuel, pending green-white checkered attempts. Bottom line now being led by Blake Reynolds. And for a 2-time winner of this event, it's been a busy offseason since the retirement announcement. He started his own league, ran that league for a few months, is also now working with drivers like Flynn Lazier on a road course team that we've seen in series like MTech competition, Derek. He's busy.
Part of Vortex and doing the off. He's now in the off-road, the dirt road, rallycross and the Pro 2 Pro 4 trucks. He's really a driver who's taken on everything. Little smoke in the back here. I think they're okay.
Yeah, that was a big puff of smoke. That's hence the amount of pace there and tempo. They nearly smashed it up well.
If I can ask, I know I'm asking a lot of our producers tonight. I'm curious to know if this setup is tight or loose for these drivers. Maybe we can get an onboard of either. I think it's Justin and Alex Collins we have on board tonight. I would love to see how they're reacting to the wheels with these cars, because I have a suspicion that this setup is tight, and that's what's causing all those wall rubs.
The car that hit the wall, by the way, was Kyle Benson. You take a look at Hernandez. You're right, curious on the wheel movements for a lot of these drivers. Why don't we take a look at one? This is Alex Koenigks. He's running the bottom right now, towards the back end of the pack, waiting to see what happens in the Hornet's Nest. And just look at the steering wheel. You can see just how focused he is on not just his conversations, but just looking to his right even.
We're not seeing a whole lot of movement in that wheel, Justin, so he must be pretty comfortable. I was typically, so if people watching don't know, and you can give a different opinion if you want, if Alex felt this car was tight, he would be steering way more than we would expect. He would almost be fighting the car to keep it on the bottom. If it was loose, he would want to put as little wheel into it as possible. I don't see anything that indicates either way for Koenigks at this point.
Remember, though, in a lot of cases, drivers prefer minimal steering movement, especially with the offset, because that's one of the things you can adjust is the ratio and set offset on how much you have to turn a wheel. Some drivers like minimum.
Yeah, most drivers like minimum. They believe it helps, with their steering. They believe it helps with tire wear and other factors. But I didn't get an indication either way from Koenigks here on a tight or loose. I almost said toot or lice. That was not right. So we'll wait and see what happens again.
Tooth or lice?
Yeah, it's been a long weekend.
Well, I don't think people prefer lice. But tooth is not fast. So yes.
No, but typically people prefer teeth and not tooth.
Caution is out as some drivers will be clenching their teeth. Sean Pellig amongst them. Up at the track into channel lane he goes, channel lane into the wall. More cars crash under caution.
this, Justin, might be our first time we see cars unable to really be repaired. Who is that? That's the 47 down there.
Yet again, Boisvert. So a few more cars getting some damage. See how things were calm at the front. Wow. Those are some physics. And then the aftermath collects the 47 to spin them around. Very lucky to not hit the
Yeah,
front
very
end
lucky not to
belly.
hit anything. So what's going to happen? Let's see this side view here. What's going to happen? The 12 is going to hit. Oh, it just slammed back.
We'll just
And
let the
then-
picture explain it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens to 12 if they get that car wound up in time.
Yeah, just barely getting around. In fact, I think Boisvert gassed it up to avoid it. Crash under caution into the infield goes the 70. One car in the wall. It's Garrett Lowe. What happened?
Is he stuck? No, he's not stuck in the wall. I don't know.
Garrett Lowe has broke something. Something. Wow. No checkup there, and I don't know if it broke. Something broke on his end or what.
That was like that was like the awful version of the Brad Keselowski team no lift. I don't know what happens here, but like
That has to be something broken. He
I-
didn't even move the wheel.
I don't think I think the car in front of let's watch it from the car in front of him if we can. I think that other car maybe checks up sooner than he expects it to. Let's see.
Yeah, there's the check, and
Yeah, that car in front of him checks up a little bit like, for the 55, I think. And I think Garrett Lowe's had no idea that was going to happen. I don't know. I'm sort of flabbergasted, to be honest with you. And
I
you
think
know me
he
enough
might
to
have-
know that.
He
Go
might
ahead.
have been flabbergasted right there.
Yeah, I mean, you know me enough to know that I'm not typically lost for words, but I don't have many for that. That's an odd moment, to say the least.
Lucky dog, by the way, is Ward. 39th on the racetrack. Ward is now 6 laps down. Blaze Jr. also gets an hour lap back to be 6 down. In all of this, McGee took the lead. Most drivers, in fact, just about everyone but Monsivice took 4 tires.
Yeah, the interesting thing here, of course, you want to get those tires and gas when you can. Everyone will stop again. There's no way, short of maybe, 2 more cautions, that you make it to the end. And even then, you need to be prepared for a green-white checker. So this definitely is not our last stop of the night, Justin.
Back on our caution, Dylan Alt coming down to the pit lane to top off. Made his way up to the front row just about before the pit stops. And now it's a fuel mileage race yet again. The most anyone's gone, 43 laps. And that was Alt.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, short of a couple cautions to slow these cars down and burn less fuel, I can't see anyone making it 46, 45 laps to get to the end here.
So it's McGee, Davis, McKissick, Head. Followed by Butler and Roberts, Reynolds and Joseph, McAdams and Howe. Well, that's the top groups. Andrew Cootie, who had to pick up a fast repair after being involved in the first wall contact with significant damage today, is now in the top 12.
Yeah, that's a great comeback for Cootie here. Waited until that was the appropriate time to use that fast repair. I mean, look at that. As high as 7, as low as 43. So been all through the field here. And I'll be curious. Maybe I'll take a moment here, and we'll see how many people have a fast repair left. I'm sort of the belief, Justin, there might be more drivers who have used a fast repair than drivers who have one left.
All set to go for the restart. 44 laps to go. A bit offset and staggered again. Green flag is out back underway. Davis with the better launch on the bottom side. Now back to even into turn one. Here comes the momentum. Head trying to push ahead the inside groove. McKissick all over the back end of McGee. Once again, top line superior back straightaway, Derek. Look at that push.
Yeah, look at that push here as we're going to put McGee out front here. That's an amazing push that's happening here. We got Davis down on the inside, though. I don't think they're going to give it up so easily. And we're not seeing perfectly square pushes on the top lane, Justin. Some of those were a little sketch and maybe a little too brave for 43 to go.
But at the same time, with how tight the mileage could be, how hard do drivers push? Here's an answer. Butler wants to go and push hard with Blake Reynolds.
Yeah, I think right now most drivers are just going to accept that you have to pit again. Most drivers do not want to be in that save mode right now. You want to be up front. You want to start to win. You want to put yourself, in that spot to have a splash and go pit stop. And so I think people are going to push here. There's no point in saving, I don't think.
See if that reigns supreme with the tandem once again. Tandem starting to come a little bit more common. McAdams starting to back up a bit on the top line. For perspective, just looking at some of the drivers as they bounce across these pylons here, Cootie is starting to make those moves, the right moves in a lot of cases, to the bottom, nearly clear of McGee. We'll see if there's a choice to move up to the top line. There's one taken by Davis. Thinking of a block, Butler can't block it.
We'll see here, McGee's now going to catch up to the back bumper of Davis. As far as I can remember, these are the first time these two have really worked together today. So we'll see how those bumps go and how well they get together. Of course, Blake Reynolds and Sean Butler are friendly and have probably done this before, so we'll see how comfortable they are. But Davis now up to the front and I believe led that lap, Justin.
He led his third lap that time by this race. McGee, little offset, reaching lap traffic channel lane.
Ooh, this is that move he made earlier, just in the opposite end, Justin. I don't like this move again.
Oh, a huge bump from Butler in turn. Coming to 40 laps to go, lap traffic on the apron. McGee gets a rough bump. Hold on to it as the angry Pelicans car stays below the yellow line.
Now, earlier we saw Davis make the opposite move from that, where he wanted to block Butler and McAdams and went to the top side. That side he pulled back down in front of Butler. Those kind of moves where you're moving down and you're starting to get in the way and have no drafting help, that just makes you in the way, honestly. It's a dangerous move to make.
In terms of some of that momentum, the top line starting to dissipate a little bit. It's key to note amongst those in the fuel save strategy that we mentioned the top off. Drivers like Alder coming. Battle for the lead. Butler has just ditched Davis in the 3. No help yet. Now everybody saying bye-bye 64. Hello, new best friend, the top line.
Yeah, there it goes. And tell me if you've heard this before. Blake Reynolds is near the front of a WINSTEL 400.
Oh, in trouble. A stack up in the heart of the pack. Nicholas Toussaint amongst those scrambling. No caution, we stay green. No cars with the spins. And tempers flared on the radio. Everett F. Lane and Kevin McAdams, it appeared, got together with the checkup.
Well, I'll tell you, Justin, I am impressed by Davis here. On the bottom, basically by himself for a good car length, and is really not holding his own, but in trying to. It's waiting for someone to maybe pull down in front of him, but I think it's a little too soon for someone to want to make a move here.
One car is just blown up.
Never mind.
Shane Ward, who is the lucky dog last caution, is just blown up on the apron. We stay green. 3 wide again. There's the blown up car. Way out of the way of the rest of the pack, no trouble as everybody has chosen the calm, safe, and secure top line.
And you know,
Except for these 300.
The thing to note here, Justin, and we talked earlier about how you can impress people or how you can make moves that scare people off of you and how friends are important here. Look what happened to Jordan Davis. Not only did he get left behind by the front pack, that pack came up behind him and then went around him. They don't want to work with him. I'm just curious if he has damage or if he's just maybe unimpressed from drivers.
Bottom line starting to regain its numbers after, well, the top line wanted to form. And now it's time to play Control the Bubble. Butler and Reynolds choosing to block off the bottom. Monsivice was leading that charge, and Monsivice chooses to go under the old line.
Now,
Remember,
we talked about
no execution, no expectation of being let back up with a move like that. Monsivice is given the benefit of the doubt, though, there.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Remember, there is no yellow line rule here at the WINSTEL 400. I thought maybe he'd just gone down there as he had too big a run and was just maybe trying to not slam into the back of Reynolds. But no, he followed through on it and made that move and led that lap.
Dylan Alt was that car who was pushing him, by the way. Eller tandem up on the top group for the moment. Lead pack 32 cars deep. Lowe and Koenig's have lost touch to the lead group by 8 seconds. Everybody else is in this party pack.
Now, JP, if you think this is tense and everything right now, I suspect within 10 laps, we're going to be back to that 3-wide competition you talked about earlier, where we'll see a lot more 3-wide, a lot more pushing. People right now are sort of jockeying for position, wanting to see what's doable, but eventually I think we're going to be 3-wide here for a good part of the field.
Oh, Reynolds swung and nearly swung and nearly got swooned and swung off the circuit off of 4 there. Getting a little bit loose again. Monsivice, keep in mind, has to pit against the grain. He pit 33 laps ago. Everybody else 11 laps ago. Looking back to Alt once again, leading that top line, or rather, the middle portion of the top line. Did Alt choose the right call? At the scene, you see McAdams just electing to be patient here. The calm before the storm.
Yep, nice onboard here from this Doritos machine. We're going to see how aggressive he wants to get on bumping here. Or is he setting up the move? I don't think he is.
No, you don't push the pusher, though.
Well, you're not supposed to push the pusher. That doesn't mean people don't do it.
Not wrong. After all, and that's the crazy thing I heard before, some people say these cars can be transparent, you can see ahead through them. Yeah, that's not as easy as you think.
No, it's not as easy as you think, and I suspect that's part of what happened in that wreck under caution we saw earlier. To fully make that point is, when you're right behind someone, even under caution, it's hard to see around them. And that may be what happened. But yeah, when you're behind someone in a draft here, if you're 6-7 deep in a draft, and if you're up on their bumper like you're supposed to be, you really don't have any idea what's going on around them.
Nate Stewart got way loose trying to block the bottom side.
Now look here, as you see Butler, Reynolds, and others kind of starting to pull the old Dale Jr. They want to start to move up and down the lanes to control the lanes. They're going to find the draft and ride it until the other lane comes around. We'll see what happens here.
Track temperature has dropped to 87 degrees, so it is a cooler track, but a more greasier track with some of the humidity, but more so the marbles in the rubber. Starting to see that McKissick trying to bump the outside. In some time, approaches near 4 p.m. Here comes Roberts with the help of McKissick.
Yeah, it is 4 p.m. in some time. I guarantee we will finish on the daylight here at this track, so no nighttime racing for this WINSTEL 400, but we're excited to see how it's going to move here. Watch the top line here. This is McGee, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Oh, and they may reach shadowing at a bad spot on the exit. Just got him in time. The Chatelaine moves out of the way of the pack. No troubles there. 30 to go next time by.
Ooh, big move there. From the top to the bottom successfully.
Oh, and it blew up on the top line. McGee has popped the motor. No, it's McKissick who pops the motor, pushing him. No caution, we stay green. Brendan McKissick has blown up, pushing on the top groove.
That is unfortunate. I'm taking a look here real quick. Has McKissick used his fast repair?
We'll have to see if we get the confirmation of that.
No, he has not used a fast repair. So if he can cruise this around, now he'll lose a lot of time cruising it around, Justin.
Yeah, might lose the lap at minimum by the time makes the stall.
Yeah, he is in turns 3 and 4, riding around about 65 miles an hour. Those guys on your screen right there are riding around about 200, so a small difference. Question first off is, can McKissick even make the pit road? Right now, he is in danger of not.
It's running at 46. Still the leaders are running. They're coming his direction. Coming up to 29 laps to go. McKissick has made the pit lane barely.
He'll get that fast repair used. He'll get the new motor. He will lose the lap because they're the leaders basically going around him right now. But anything can still happen here in the last 29 laps here at this WINSTEL 400.
So the major question on some people's minds may now start to pop up. When is the time to go?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is always the question at a super speedway. And the more important question might be, am I paying enough attention to my temperatures? You know, on those digital dashboards, you have numbers that literally blink red in front of you. Sometimes, though, in this pack, when you get to that point where they're blinking, it might be a little too late. You might not be able to get enough air to that car. I didn't hear Brandon asking for air to that car. Now, he might have been talking in Discord to friends and not using the in-game voice system. But, yeah, see what happens. He is back off, by the way, and now pulling up on the back straight here. So he is just going to be one lap down here with 28 to go.
Possibly 2 down in about 2 laps, if that.
Yeah, maybe not even. They're right now going by what we used to call the bus stop, now the Le Mans chicane. And they're going to catch him probably out of this corner here, I think.
Down the front straightaway, actually. Butler being pushed back to the race lead again. And indeed, McKissick trying to hold the line. This could get a little bit sketchy. To the banking, actually, they'll reach. McKissick does not move to the apron. Looking to try and maybe maintain that draft. Doucette getting a boost in turn with Roberts on the outside. Butler looking to size it up inside. There goes the run on McKissick. McKissick just reached in time to reach the bottom of the track.
And really doing a good thing here. Being predictable, stays on the track, stays above that yellow line, and will get sucked into that draft here. 2 laps down, though, this will be hard to come back from.
That will put him with Gilles Chatelaine, 37-38 in that grouping. Only 1 car, 1 lap down. William Boisvert, should say, who is at risk of being lap 2 in about 10 laps.
Now remember, JP, as much as we're talking about jockeying for position and we're talking about when to push and when to go and when to do this, there's still a pit stop involved in this. We're not done with those yet.
Yeah, that's the major concern that you agree upon, and I agree upon. Once again, Alt was the only car from the main grouping outside of Aaron Smith II, who had been involved in the crash, Garrett Lowe, Alex Koenigs, who topped off.
Here they come.
Now, here's the magic. Splitting the run in half.
That was about to be my next question to you, JP, was does someone want to come early? There's Malillo and some of the other FTF regulars coming in together. The question was going to be, do you just want to come in now and get it over with? And hey, if a caution comes out, you'll find yourself at the front when everyone else pits. You know, who knows what happens here, right?
Keyword. Who knows what can happen? over the course of 24 laps at the World Center of Racing. So there's the top group. No indication amongst these drivers yet. Tower ahead did pop up on the lights of the radio. No charge to the pit lane this time. So some drivers electing to split it in half. That's going to be the tough play, right? Where communication's critical, Derek, and finding teammates, but also friends. Do you take less fuel or two? Do you take no tires? Ryan Doucette wants to pit now with Aaron Smith II, so Smith II can't make it.
Yeah, that is the challenge, is the strategy calls you make right here. How much gas you put? What's the least amount of gas you can put in and still make the finish? That's the first question you have to ask. And likely the gas you need to put in is so minimal that it's hard to think you want to put tires on these cars.
And Andrew Cootie just about squeezed. Jeremy Davis trying to pit from the second line there. 4, 5, 6 wide into the entry. Joseph nearly gets turned.
Yeah, I'm surprised all these people came together. That's a very difficult task to do for any level of skill of drivers to get that many people on pit road safely. I think they all got it here. I'm going to take a quick peek at the scoring pylon. No black flags. Everyone got it down to speed, but a lot of smoke up on that pit road there.
Couple more calls. Christian Budd, Michael Sturgill, Jonathan Hernandez. Hernandez, the leader, ready to lead this brigade to 22 to go. Lane keeps going. Couple others as well. Budd sends it to Hart to the inside. Cootie gains a spot from it. Dylan comes in. And as said, Sturgill in.
Now, as we're going to watch these pit stops here, there's a few cars, as you mentioned, who have not pitted still. Monsavice and a few others. At this point, I think those guys have, those drivers, have probably made their bed. You just need to lay in it and see what comes of it. You know, now you're kind of committed to a strategy. Maybe you now are hoping maybe just a late caution comes out and allows you to make this on fuel. I don't know, but I'm curious to see if they're still going to pit, because you thought they would have pitted with the groups, but maybe they want a clean pit road.
These three are grouped together. Everett F. Lane, the race leader, has just come in. Keep in mind, these three, Garrett Lowe, Alex Koenigs, Gabriel Mauricio, they fell back 18 seconds to the lead group. They are only up by about 14 or so seconds to, say, Parker Alexander, who is yet to pit, but more importantly, the second back of them, Jonathan Hernandez and co.
Yep, Hernandez, of course, someone who we saw make it in just a few hours ago. Now is racing here in this race. We're seeing that big line of cars, though, in a draft, kind of leaving Hernandez behind.
That line led by Roberts, Ryan Doucette, Howe, Holzer, Head, Benson, Helig, Joseph. And with some of these small giggles of cars grouping together, communication popping up to make sure, do you have a clean car? Can I push you? Yes, let's go. Let's ride.
Yep.
So, 3 cars make it 5, looking to try and roll the dice on strategy. Lowe, Koenigs, Mauricio, the 3 most grouped together. Locke and Parker are on their own by more than a second apart. With 20 laps to go, the roll of the dice is on for the WINSTEL 400. Its 11th running continues into the final 20 laps after this. 17 laps to go from Daytona, 17 laps away from history. WINSTEL 400 down to its final stages. Most of the field has elected to pit, but 5 have not, looking to see if they can roll the dice and get a lucky caution or make it to the checkered on fumes. Those drivers, Parker Alexander, Evan Locke, those two specifically, have been swallowed up by this pack. Garrett Lowe, Alex Koenigs, Gabriel Mauricio are hoping for Lady Luck to smile the way with 16 to go.
Now, JP, if I were in one of these cars, I would actually be happier in a weird way if I was Parker or Locke right now, because they're in a pack of cars that have pitted. But I mean, if they were with some draft, they can lift and stay in a draft. They can do some things, although that is Parker, they're in that pack. But they would have a better odds of saving gas. Those 3 gentlemen up front, Lowe, Koenigs, and Mauricio, there's no lifting, there's no saving, there's no this, there's no that. They have to hope a call. Oh,
Trouble! There goes Tyler Head. Caution flag is out. To the inside of the racetrack goes the 22, Jose Solis Jr.
I didn't cause that, I swear.
Lady Luck has smiled upon the 2019 runner-up Garrett Lowe, who leads with 15 to go for now. But this could get tight even if they do stay out and hope for no GWC this year. Here's a look at the trigger.
Just a bad bump there, I believe.
Solis Jr. 39th on track, 6 laps down. Just, you're driving along, and then, kablam.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Just like you said earlier, you don't push the pusher, Justin. And you were right. That's exactly what happened there. Upon second review, that's exactly what happens. Well, as soon as the yellow came out, Alex Koenigs, who's up front, literally said, "Oh, thank God, we were way off on fuel." Well, he's going to get that prayer answered. And I suspect everyone will come here. We'll see tire changes. We'll see gas. We'll see whatever. And we'll be ready to go for these last 15 laps.
You say that, but remember, most of the drivers, when you think about it, technically be good. It'd be more tire preference. Top 3 are in. There goes Ryan Doucette staying out. Majority of the top 10 does indeed follow the advice. Come in and pit. Blake Reynolds does not. Nate Stewart does not. Butler does not.
Yeah, when we keep hearing comments about, how tight these setups are and how tire wear is important, I suspected everyone would take advantage of it here.
Koenigs overrunning his pit stall a bit. Garrett Lowe just now getting down from the jacks. The left side, should say, onto the right side. So most of these drivers taking 4 tires. So more grip for about 17th on back. But several here to be good to go, including GWC possibly for Doucette, Stewart, Butler, Hernandez, Bates, and the rest of that 16, 17 cars on track still.
And that's the question I have, JP. As you said earlier with an impressive stat, 80% of the time, 8 out of 10 races, this race has finished under a green-white checker. The drivers who are staying out, Reynolds and others, are they prepared for that? Did they take just enough gas to get to the checker? Are they hoping this caution gives them that amount of gas? I don't know. But that could prove to be the problem here as this race continues on. Now, what's going to happen here? I suspect if you dare say there were some nice, moves being made or some friendships being made here. That's all going to go out the window here. We're 14 to go. We're probably going to restart with 12 to go, I think. We'll probably see a lot more 3 wide, a lot more pushing, a lot more beating and banging. Probably a few more words in voice chat we can't say on TV. And I think the intensity is about to triple here from what it's been already.
Let's get the chance to talk with Alex Koenigs, who was amongst those trying to stretch it on the strategy. Alex, how tight was it on fuel for you?
Well, as we announced to the field, I was about 6 laps off, so it wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close. So how big is this caution in turn 18 for the restart?
Well, it's a lot higher than I've been for most of the day ever since I got right hooked, so it's good. One of the highest guys on tires, so I had to do a lot of passing in the heat races to try and get to the front, and a lot of hard racing in the second chance qualifiers, so I'd say I'm not in that bad of a spot. Let's go get it.
And we talked a bit about how these cars wear a fair bit. A few drivers have been getting loose off at the corners, especially off turn 4. How big is it now to have fresh tires compared to the old tires going to be in front of you about 13, 14 on back?
Well, it's not going to be as bad as it was approaching the last run, but it should still be enough that some guys up top are going to be tight, some guys on the bottom are going to be a bit loose, so... Not telling you where I'm going, you'll just have to see, but let's make it fun.
Let's make it fun indeed. Alex Komenix wants the drivers who were in the gamble pack now get some fresh rubber for the final restart.
You know, JP...
Patients are ready with the crew. Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick before you go green here. Something he said stood out to me. It's tight on the top and loose on the bottom. I don't understand that in a super speedway. That really threw me for a loop. I've never experienced that at a super speedway, I don't think. Have you?
I have. Atlanta.
Okay. Typically, it's one or the other. I'm surprised the different lanes are reacting differently.
13 to go. Drivers being warned about wheel spin. Ryan Doucette choosing the top line. 12 to go at the stripe. Will this be the final run for the WINSTEL 400? Or will there be more attrition? 2 by 2 as they make their way off to turn 1. Good push from Butler to the back end of Ryan Doucette. And look at that, Komenix showing his hand already. He wants the top groove. A couple drivers starting to peek out with him, a part of the tire brigade. Ryan Doucette gets ditched by Sean Butler. Butler comes down in front of Blake Reynolds, working with Nate Stewart. Some of the FTF veterans and WINSTEL drivers working together. Contact! Doucette slides. Reynolds holds onto it. Caution is out, and somehow it's not the big one at the front, it's at the back instead.
Yeah, I'm stunned because at the way that Doucette literally had that car sideways and the front of the lane, Justin, you would have thought the wreck would have been up front, but I'm guessing this is the accordion effect moving backwards that eventually caught the cars. I think it's going to be Cootie and the 9 on back where we're going to see that trouble, I think.
Several drivers starting to crab walk alt. Boybert, Nicholas Doucette amongst those involved. Here's a look. There's some air here. There was some air here. Somehow no stack up there, but it's at the back in the checkup that really sparked.
4 wide back there, I think.
All under braking. Not a good sign.
We can pick that replay up again from the 9 car. I think we'll see... I think we're going to see part of the cause of the incident here. He might be in front of him.
Definitely in front. And then in it.
Bit of ARCA brake weekly right there, I think, from the 9 car. Let's watch this view here. This will be from the right around the area of the 42. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, the top lane keeps checking up from what happened up front. Oh! Big hit from the bottom to the top of the track there, Justin.
That was Garrett Lowe amongst those on the outside. Bouncing off of it. 51 crab walking. And several more drivers significant damage in the final stretch. Under 10 to go. And the little car that could. See if there's a faster pair available. Lucky dog this time. Brandon McKissick, who is back on the lead lap in 35th.
Yeah, McKissick, who we saw blow that motor earlier, pushing McGee around, I believe, or being pushed by McGee, is now back on the lead lap here. So some cars are going to start to leave the track, Justin. We're out of fast repairs. You know, it's the last moments of the race. They don't want to be in the way, so we're going to wait and see what happens here.
For those keeping track of, can Solis Jr. get back on the lead lap? He needs 4 more cautions. I don't know if he'll have enough time for 4 more cautions.
Yeah, mathematically, I don't think that's going to happen, but you know, definitely a lot of spots could be gained here, and has been gained by Solis here.
And Sean Butler has a chance to put himself into history here. He has been one of the drivers trying to control that outside pack, sometimes with McAdams, sometimes with Davis, sometimes now with Reynolds. He's led 20 laps. Could this be his day? A part of a field that has seen him lead the third most laps in the race. And
Yeah, it really could be his day. I mean, he's a very experienced driver, known amongst the iRacing community. I'm excited to see where this race leads here. I mean, that wreck that happened there looked to be some bad air, to put it nicely. No one's fault that I could tell. And so I believe no fault has been assigned to that. But wait and see what happens.
as mentioned, there was air. But the 20 is a part of the drivers who have taken the faster pair now. Joseph. Under 10 to go. 8 laps to decide it when we get back going. Butler and Stewart, Reynolds and Ryan Doucette, McAdams, Hernandez, Bates, Davis, Hill, along with Yonishu.
Yep. And of those drivers in the top few cars, Stewart, Reynolds, Hernandez, and McAdams still have fast repairs left. Those drivers have not had any significant damage that they felt needed to be fixed, and so they're still in the original car we started with 151 laps ago.
And the big thing too, we mentioned teamwork. Butler, Stewart, Reynolds, all working together throughout this entire race. And we've seen that come to play several times. They control not only the top line, but the bottom line for the restart.
Yeah, so we're going to wait and see if they all want to get in line together, or if maybe they just go, hey, we're two of us. We've seen Reynolds and Butler work together. I don't think we've really seen Nate Stewart at the front yet, so I don't know who he's been working with, to be honest with you, but wait and see how this plays out here. Or do some of the WINSTEL regulars finally have enough of this and kind of want to break this pack up and maybe do to these gentlemen what used to happen to DEI back in the early to mid 2000s?
8 laps to go from Daytona International Speedway. Green is out. Stewart got a better timing of it compared to Butler. Reynolds right there to help Butler, however. Who will take the chance to peek out? Already a little bit of peeking. Couple scrapes to the wall behind him. Parker Alexander taking it 3 wide to the back of the line. Butler moves up in front of Stewart. Move Blake Reynolds to the point. Oh, and Justin Malillo taking it 4 wide in the heart of the Hornet's nest.
Yep, you see Justin there in the top lane there in that Traction.gg car. Someone who's had some bad luck tonight, still right here eligible for a win here with 8 to go.
Thing is, that third line needs to work in quick. Right now, Malillo 17th. Bit of a buffer. The top 2 starting to work a bit of a buffer on their own. Hernandez, a hard push to Reynolds. Holding onto it is Reynolds. Lap traffic ahead again. Butler tries to side draft Hernandez. Bates joining the fray on the inside. Up to the top line to block is Reynolds. Butler gives him a huge shot down the back.
Reynolds make number 3 happen. They're going to go by that lapped car is safely down on the apron.
4 wide in the corner. Davis gets bounced
Contact
off.
in the back.
Caution is out. Davis goes around, and there's the big one, part 2. Malillo in the heart of it. Pellig involved. Several more scatter in, and the back half of the field is gone.
And I believe for the 9th time in WINSTEL 400 Series history, we're going to see a green-white checker, Justin.
It will be close. Modifieds coming out from the crash. Philip Snipes already taking a tow. Mods of ice involved in the tempers. You had McAdams also in the vicinity of the trouble, it appeared. Or at least a buffer from it. But a good 10 plus cars stack it up with significant damage. Lane, Malillo, Snipes, mandatory repairs. All from 4 wide right there.
This is a big massive cars all coming together. It's almost hard to even tell where that starts, Justin. I don't even know how we would start to diagnose that if we wanted to. Just someone in the wall and it sort of came down. Let's see if we can find this angle here. There's Malillo on the top. Here's 4 wide. That's Davis, but I mean, it's just beating and banging. I don't know. I don't know.
That was Yanishu, who was on the very outside with the 4 wide move in the 84. And it was talked about on social media when it comes to with Malillo. You put the 84 in the mood, he'll take it 3-4. He tried it. And some really fast cars involved in the incident. Peleg, who's been up with the front several times, a part of the stack up. McKissick, who just got a lead lap in it as well.
And that's the hardest part. You go get that motor fixed, you get back on the lead lap, and then that happens to you. Now, I said we'd be in a green-white checker, Justin. We're waiting to see when the pace car lights come off. It's possible we get one more shot at this under normal race conditions. We might restart with 3 to go. We'll wait and see here.
Lucky dog this caution, Brian Baker. And it looks like we may get a 3-lap shootout, depending on if there's any trouble in those said 3 laps. Racing deal is the call for the incident, but when you gotta go, you gotta go. So with this, Reynolds, Butler, Hernandez, Stewart, Bates, the top 5. For full disclosure, I was former teammates at one point with Jonathan Hernandez. He's one of the nicest guys you can meet. Was a part of with big organizations as far back as 2018 and 2019. Has been very quietly under the radar for 2-3 years now. He said he's just happy to be here. For Hernandez, this is his biggest race in years.
And you can tell he's happy to be here. As we were watching that last run go through before the incident happened, you know, Blake was moving a little bit too much in Blake's own opinion. And he apologized. And Hernandez was like, no big deal. It's okay. We're fine. You know, in that kind of stress level, it'd have been easy to go, oh, what are you doing? Yeah, Hernandez just seems to be a guy who's happy to be here. He's calm. He's collected. And that could pay off here. We'll wait and see what happens as we move on here. We are 2 wide, Justin. We're going to go green with 3 to go. I was wrong. We're not at green-white checker yet.
Just a couple laps out from the buffer. Blake Reynolds looking to become the first 3-time winner of this event. He controls the inside line. Sean Butler, a super speedway ace in multiple different leagues, looking to cash $225 with a checker flag. All while Hernandez, a driver who's raced for organizations like Legacy Esports, the organization Bobby Dale Earnhardt was a part of at one point and a big part of in turn, and several other groups, ready to see if he can make it his day to put himself back on the radar.
Yep. So Blake Reynolds has chosen the bottom lane here. I believe there are 2 contributing factors to this, Justin. You know, Alex Kolnick told us the bottom is loose. Some drivers really do prefer loose race cars over tight race cars. And you take the bottom because Hernandez just gave you an amazing run on that last run. He bumped, he kept you straight, he was willing to push you. Those are qualities I want behind me with 3 to go.
Whose day will it be? The 11th running of the WINSTEL 400 is down to its final 3 laps, 7.5 miles to go. Green flag is out. Reynolds inside, Butler outside. We're back underway. And the outside is doing things again. There goes Butler to the race lead past Reynolds.
And I suspect he might try to move down in front of Reynolds. He's not clear yet. We'll wait and see what happens here. Nice push from Stewart, but here comes Reynolds back on the inside, now going to even it up. Oh, wrecking.
Kevin McAdams gets turned in the heart of the pack. Caution flag is out. And this will trigger the GWC for a 9th time in 11 years.
And And the other unfortunate thing is going to be that even McAdams got spun. I believe he's going to hit the back quarter panel of Hernandez. So that Hernandez might be hurt here for this last run.
Let's take a look. That is Montsevice with a push. Three green-white checkers available. Here's another look in full pace. I think a question is going to be, how is Hernandez's car going to be after that hit to the side from McAdams?
Yeah, that is the question. What's going to happen here with that car? Will he be okay? You know, he might still be a good pusher. Maybe not a good leader. Sometimes that's what happens with Aero. It would be on the opposite side of the car from what we see here in that angle. We'll see if we can get it as he comes around the corner here, Justin. Wait and see. It's kind of hard to tell there.
It is pancaked. Look at the right front tire.
Oh, yeah, okay. I can kind of see it here in sim. But yeah, so he might still be a good pusher and not a good leader. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure he's not coming down. Like, I'm sure he's not giving up that track position.
You can at this point. But the EOL is giving him Montsevice. So give him a strike.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Montsevice, that is his fault. When you hook someone like that at a super speedway, it's hard to say it's not your fault. You know, I don't want to play too much into it or make any things. I know that he and McAdams have not necessarily gotten along today. They've had a few words, to say the least. But yeah, that's just an unfortunate move. And it might just be the pressure of being, 3 to go and needing to make a move. And, who knows. But yeah, it is going to be a strike on him for that caution.
That's the leader's pace. In other news, remember Justin Malillo had mandatory repairs? Well, the top 20 pays out, right? $15 if you're in 15th to 20th. He's trying it. Somehow, that car is allowed to run. Somehow, that car is functioning.
Yeah, that is something, to say the least. The fact that he's still top 20 eligible it's a real proof to a belief I have about super speedway racing, that you should always try to stick it out, because you never know what you'll get out of it.
I think he knows we're looking at him. He definitely knows we're looking at him.
He will in a second.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Justin. Because he can see the Twitch stream there.
You can see the smile on his face. But I'm going to say this again. Just going to send it, right? If there's a crash on the final lap, he might win $15 or more.
He might win more than that. Oh my goodness, he might win more. So I was taking a look here on the screen. No one of note. I was wondering if the people in the back might go take tires. I know that, grip and all that, but no one really took it. Only people with damage. So we'll wait and see what happens here.
So 3 green-white checkers available. So we'll see how this plays out. If they take the caution before the white, we'll get another attempt. If we get to the white without a crash or a yellow, next flag ends the race. Simple as that. No caution to freeze the field.
I'm going to be honest with you right now, Justin. If I had to make a pick, I think the bottom lane is the right choice. Now, if you love the racing tonight here at Daytona, 34 days from now, Justin, we're going to do this all again under different rules, different details. The FTF Bar Visuals 500, 34 days from now, a whole new process, a whole new set of rules as far as compared to tonight's event, but the same fun, the same intensity, and here on the same channel, ftf.gg.
Can't wait to see who can make history once again to start off the new FTF season. Dylan Barr, a big supporter of the series too, Derek.
Yep. Now, Butler, of course, took the bottom lane here, Justin, and I suspect that's the right call. I would not want to have, with all due respect to Mr. Hernandez, I would not want him being my pusher, knowing he took that damage there from McAdams on that wreck. So we'll wait and see what happens. Wheel spin warnings, of course, from race control once again. We're about to go green, Justin.
5 miles to settle things. If we take the white flag in this GWC, or do these cars have to try it again? Let's find out. Green flag is out. GWC 1 is underway. Hernandez, a great push to start on the back of Stewart. Reynolds trying to line it up with Butler. It's dead even, 3 wide to the outside. James Holzer already showing his cards. Nicholas Doucette, after the faster pair, leads the top with them.
I think that damage might be starting to show its signs here, because you saw there was a big gap there. That allowed those guys to move up to the top, Justin.
Top 4, in fact, the top 6 now single file. Here come the fresh tires on the inside. Koenigs leads it. Caution flag is out. Back of the pack. GWC 2 is triggered. Several cars coming to a stop yet again. Emily Howe dodges her way through it. Yonishu amongst those getting involved yet again. One car at least rode the top of the safer barrier, and a partridge in a pear tree.
This is turned into a night of chaos. Let's wait and see what happens here, Justin. We're going to see this, and someone's just going to get run. No? I think he just tried to react and tried to get around the car and hit the apron, and then it just went bad from there, Justin.
You can mix in that, though, that there was a block there from the 84. But do you blame him? He doesn't block that. He's dropping out of the top 15.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Right. You can't be mad at blocks at this point. I mean, you can, but I don't know why. Yeah, he's going to block right there.
And Garrett Lowe was the one who rode the top of the safer barrier. Dylan Alt gets collected.
Again.
Just about all the legacy sports entries involved. So now, another caution.
Yeah, and so now Hernandez has been shuffled back to 5th with that damage. We saw maybe a little indication that damage is not going to allow him to push, because the gap that he and Stewart had was not equal to Butler and Reynolds and Roberts and the others. So these cautions are not benefiting Hernandez, because every restart, it probably takes him longer to get that engine wound up and ready to go, and to get in that draft than everybody else.
So we'll have to do this yet again. We talked about it a little bit, though, with what would drivers like Koenigs do. He showed hand 1. He showed hand 2. Now, what do you do for hand 3 for some of these cars on GWC 2?
I mean, the only thing you can do at this point is just go and hope that you make the line and we end this thing before someone hits you. This is a race that honestly started off very clean, Justin. We went, I think, 40, 50 laps before our first caution. And ever since then, those cautions have come pretty frequently. So if you're Butler, if you're Reynolds, if you're Roberts, you're stoked you're up front. You know, Emily Howe said this is where you want to be because there's less trouble up here. And that's proven to be the case. Almost the caution or the trouble may start up in the front, but so far all the cautions we've seen that I can remember have been mid-pack tonight.
I was about to say, even when they've just about caused the big ones up at the front, it's been outside of the top 10 or top 15 or so at the time of the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, even that Doucette slide from, 30 laps ago, that started up front, but they saved it. It was just in the back of the pack is where it triggered.
Strike given for this yellow. Yonishu. Or rather, not Yonishu, the 86 who got into Yonishu. Log. So now, the top chosen by Butler, that lines him up with Nate Stewart. So the alliances continue here. Blake Reynolds, in turn, gets to choose the inside line. Dylan Roberts will have to line up behind Reynolds, one to go until the restart. And at the moment, 33 on the lead lap. Including Malil, still yes. But 33 cars who may have a shot at glory tonight, Derek.
Yep.
Who's your
So
pick?
Oh, I don't know where the pick is, honestly, Justin. It's kind of crazy to think. I'm gonna say in P7, still think Alex Kolinix has a very good chance at pulling this out somehow. I always like to think that surprises win these races, and I think that's where we're gonna go. Let's take a look at the lines real quick, Justin, for the top 4 or 5 rows. You got Butler, Stewart, Bates, Kolinix, and Holzer on the inside. Or no, I'm sorry, not Butler. I apologize. It's Reynolds and the rest I said. And it's going to be Butler, Roberts, Hernandez, Hill, and Nicholas Doucette on the outside. That's your top 10. Both those are very solid lines. Unfortunately, the inside line, I don't know what's going to happen here. These are both good lines here with talented drivers. We'll wait and see what happens.
17 leaders, 43 lead changes, 12 cautions. Now, the question is, will this be the final restart for the 2023 edition of the WINSTEL 400? Butler outside, Reynolds inside. Green, green, green. 5 miles to go again. And 3 wide already at the start and finish line of the back of the pack. Already some blocks to the wall to try and prevent some runs on there. Into 1. There goes Butler on the block. Reynolds moves up to the high side. Butler blocks him off again. Roberts dropping back. No help for him. A triple bump along the top groove. In through 3 and 4 once again. Coming to the white flag, this time by. Final lap coming up for the WINSTEL 400. Whose race will it be for 2023? Look at the chart to the inside. Alex Bates, no help though in the in groove.
I'll wait and see what happens here. Bates needs help quick, but someone will get impatient. Someone wants to win this race here. I think Butler and Reynolds are locked in together, and the field needs to recognize that if they want to have a chance here.
Nate Stewart trying to lock forward. When does Reynolds try a move?
This would be number 3.
Butler looking for number 1. Here goes the block. It's a triple block. Reynolds gets shuffled. He gets bumped. Sean Butler plays the lanes. Stewart tries to get to the inside. The 11th running of the WINSTEL 400 goes to Sean M. Butler. He wins the WINSTEL 400.
That is a great finish right there, Justin. And a great win by Sean Butler, who showed dominance all night long. I'm excited to see the replay to see what caused Blake to spin out of 4. But yeah, that's a great win and a great run and a great finish here to the WINSTEL 400.
One of the biggest wins, if not the biggest win for Sean Butler's career. He's done it. He joins the prestigious list of winners in this event. From Overland to Reynolds. From Justin Wilson to Femi Olot. From Clampett and now to Butler.
Yeah, a few drivers are going to come up here and say hello and congratulate Sean Butler. They're going to pull down and give him a chance to celebrate here, I believe. Maybe Nate Stewart's going to follow him, I guess.
These two work together all race to the very end. And Butler gets to loop it in the grass, Dale Sr. style. Sean Butler getting the job done, ending the night $225 richer. In an eventful finish to the WINSTEL 400. He is the only driver to finish with no incident points, to add another $20 for a clean driver award with it. Let's take a look at the final lap for Reynolds.
This is after they spin here. It's going to be a contact between Nate Stewart and a couple others here that's going to cause this here. We're going to see they're going to start to make the move here into 3 out of 4. There's the first part.
There was some air.
Yes. And there's some air. There's also some bumping there as well, but there's some air there involved, and it's going to cause some issues with the drivers behind him.
Reynolds still crosses the stripe in 17th. But Reynolds tried it. Just couldn't get to the inside. Storp beat him to the groove.
Yep. Looks like Stewart and Ryan Hill start to make contact, and then it is all kind of goes bad from there. But it's last lap, it's blocking, it's everything. It's hard to say that anything was wrong. Just someone trying to make a move and win some money.
The unofficial race results. Sean Butler wins the WINSTEL 400 and does it as the only driver without any incident points to earn a Clean Driver award tonight. Nate Stewart, he picked up damage towards the midway point of the race, and in the end, picked the right lane in the right moment to get to second. Ryan Hill started 39th tonight. He made his way up to third when it came to money time. Brennan McGee finishes behind Alex Kolinix amongst the top 5. Kolinix, the last of those in the main pack before the big one struck out of 4. Jonathan Hernandez, despite the pancake-side car, finishes in 6th. Emily Howe gets to 7th. Aaron Smith, the second, 8th. Bates and Benson, your top 10.
All right, let's take a look here. Finish starting with P11, and that's going to be Jeremy M. Davis, followed by James Holzer, Brandon Cruz Monsalves in 13th, Christian Budd, then Jeremy Stanley and Andrew Cootie. Blake Reynolds, as you said, finished 17th with that spin out of 4. Gilles Chatelain in 18th, Tyler Head in 19th, and Brian Baker rounds out your top 20, Justin.
The final of the money-paying positions. Ryan Doucette, the first out of the pay prizes. Joseph, 22nd. Dylan Alt still ends the night $20 richer with the pole award, brought to you by Brandon Cruz DFS, but finishes 23rd. McKissick, Mauricio, along with Yanishu and Locke, the final drivers in the lead lap. Nicholas Doucette did not make it to the stripe after the crash out of turn 4. Kevin McAdams finishes 29th, the lap down. Michael Sturgill in 30th.
We'll pick up at 31st with Dylan Roberts and Justin Malillo 3 laps down, and 32nd, Garrett Lowe and Sean Pellick, 33rd and 34th. Jose Salas Jr. in 35th, 4 laps down, with Parker Alexander 1 lap behind that. And then Everett F. Lane, Philip Snipes, William Boisvert, and Sean Ward running out your top 40. And then lastly, Justin Egan, Tommy Gassot, and Ben Hancock, who was removed from the race due to the strike system.
Sean Butler has worked so hard, so many times on the super speedways to be able to have this moment to win. And today, he wins the WINSTEL 400. Sean, you've won the 11th running of the WINSTEL 400. How does it feel to be a part of history?
Feels good, man. This to win a race, it's as long going, as prestigious as this. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's well documented my luck on the sim as of late. So 2022 is probably some of the worst of it, but so many heartbreaking losses. The just leading late and just getting unfortunate stuff happening. It feels good to finally seal the deal in this one and to have it done in the WINSTEL 400 is one of the toughest races to win, especially this car and track combo. It's so tough, and it's really cool to be a part of the winners circle, if you will.
Some coordination between you and some of your fellow competitors in FTF competition, as well with that have some experience in WINSTEL. But it came down to 5 miles, a green-white checkered for the 9th time in 11 years in this event. What was going through your mind through that GWC once that green flag flew?
It was, as you guys could probably tell, it was me, Blake, and Nate just trying to, work together to finish, really. We didn't want to be back there and just battling side by side and getting caught up in stuff. But we coordinated this from the green flag pit stops because we kind of knew that everyone ahead of us, well, that pit before us, I should say, we're going to short fuel it, and they would have to refuel again if green white checkers, and we knew green white checkers is going to be coming. I mean, that's the way these races go. So we fueled a little extra, and we were able to stay out on that last green flag stop and keep us up at the front while everyone had to pit. And we just said, hey, we're just going to try and find each other. And Blake and I were more compatible in that, so Blake and I tried to hook up, and I tried to hook up with Nate, whenever we could. So us three did a really good job down the stretch of keeping ourselves up there and giving ourselves a chance. So big shout out to those guys, for sticking to the plan. We wanted it to be between the three of us, and fortunately it was. So overall, it's a team effort down the stretch.
And you mentioned the way some of the luck has turned in the special events in the past. The simple question comes to mind now that you've broken through with the WINSTEL 400. Now, what goes to the mind now? You've broken the bad luck curse with this one.
Well, hopefully, I mean, it's one race, but we got there's so many more events coming down the line, right here on FTF, by the way, that we'll probably go over later. But I just want to be, I want this to start in 2023 off on on a good note, and I want to just kind of build momentum, with an event like this to future ones, and just put myself in good positions to win those. But overall, like I said, just happy to finally break through, so to speak, and it feels good to finally be able to win this one too. So, like I said, big thanks to Blake and Nate for sticking with us. Everyone down in our channel, Brandon Cattell was spotting, for me at the end. So big shout out to him for coming down and hanging out and spotting, and you guys especially. This was a long race. We're going on just over 3 hours right now. So big shout out to you guys for doing stellar work as always, and looking forward to many more events here to come on FTF, and a good way to start off 2023 for sure.
Sean Butler puts his name into history. The WINSTEL 400 goes his way for 2023. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, boys.
Sean Butler comes across the stripe first. He mentioned Nate Stewart, a part of the trio working together towards the final moments from that green flag pit stop. Stewart finishes the day second position. He joins us with Derek.
Nate, well, second place tonight. Good job on that. You obviously worked well with Sean Butler and your other FTF comrades. Talk us through the green white checker. What was on your mind coming into it?
The coming to the green white checkered, it was really just let's survive and get to the white flag, and then we'll see what happens from there. I really hate that Blake ended up getting wrecked, but that was re- really bad net code. So I really hate to see him get wrecked. But as soon as I saw Ryan coming with that steam, because Blake and Sean pulled out a few car lengths ahead of me, and I wanted to stay with them, but I wasn't able to. So as soon as I saw them pull out, and then I saw Ryan come with that run, I knew I had to do. I knew I had to block Ryan so I could stay ahead. And if I didn't, that was giving him a free shot at the win, and maybe wrecking Sean or uh, just like one of those end of plate race things that you do all that you can. And I mean, yeah, I love working with Sean, love working with Blake. They're two really good friends of mine. But I mean, there at the end, it's coming down to the wire for some pretty serious money. We gotta do what's best for us in the end.
So, ideal world, if the contact doesn't happen or the netcode doesn't happen with Blake, when were you making the move? When were you going to go? What was your plan, or were you content staying in second place?
Well, I was content staying in third behind Blake and Sean. If it came down to it, and I knew that there was going to be no outside competition between us three, I might have tried to. We all might have scrambled there at the end and just see where we ended up. But you know, if it wasn't for that run, I would have waited until off four. But again, with Ryan coming that fast, I knew I had to. I just had to block, or else who knows what else would have happened.
So, well, you've been a busy member across the iRacing service already in 2023, the Rectangle 500, other events, now WINSTEL. And then I suspect in 34 days, we'll see you attempt to make the FTF 500.
Yeah, really, really looking forward to this FTF season. Rookie of the year last year, and I have a year the next gen under my belt, so I'm really looking forward to running an FTF this year, and a bunch of other special events. Uh, there's a big announcement coming out tomorrow that I'm involved in. So everyone needs to keep their eyes peeled on Twitter and social media and stuff. And before y'all let me go, I just want to say shout out to all my sponsors, Apex Action Photography. That's me. I do iRacing screenshots. Feel free to hit me up, and we can talk about something. Speed Visions, the core YouTube channel, Rexford Engineering, Digital Chumps, all of them that help support me, and then all of my partners that are incoming that I unfortunately can't announce yet, but hopefully that'll be a done deal by the end of the month. And yeah, I mean, just really, really looking forward to what this year has for me. I think it's going to be a damn good year.
Awesome. Well, once again, congrats on your second place finish tonight. That's the 41 car driver, Nate Stewart, Justin. He finished second.
Third spot, meanwhile, Ryan Hill. He was bounced around. He was shuffled about. And today, in the end, Hill able to charge up to third. Ryan, a huge final run for you. How are you feeling?
Throughout the race, I was feeling pretty well, kind of bored, really. I decided to hang around the back. I didn't know if that was going to be a good idea or a bad idea. Got turned, I guess, midway through the race. Then I got mad. And then I guess through going to the front, it was just more so just trying to, come back and recompose myself, keep a car clean, and be there when it really counted. And, I've raced a lot of races, and it always comes down to a green white checker, and you got to be there to make something happen.
And you did make a lot of strides happen there in those final stages in turn. But how would you describe in turn that fight to get there? You mentioned, for example, getting turn. You had to make it through some big ones, mind you, to get up there. And you were 8th coming to the green flag for that final GWC alone.
Well, I knew that during the green white checkers, I knew that I was kind of screwed on the bottom because for whatever reason it didn't go. And on the first green white checkered attempt, they left me hung out to dry. And I went from I think I was up to 4th, and then it dropped me back to 8th. And in the last green white checkered attempt, I knew being on the outside, I at least had a chance to make something happen. And Ross Chastain said it best at Martinsville: as long as you have a chance, that's all I'm asking for. So I knew being on the outside, I had a chance, and it was just stay up there until the last lap, because if you don't have that good enough draft, you're not going anywhere. So I went to make something happen in turn 3, and Nate saw it. Kind of mad at him for that, but good. I'm glad he did that because that actually helped us in the end. And still got third somehow. So like I said, I'm pretty happy about that.
I want to touch upon another point here real quick. When it comes to the car, a tribute paint scheme ran tonight. Have you take the mic and describe that paint scheme and that tribute in your best of words?
Definitely had somebody riding with me tonight. That was met her early last year, and unfortunately, she was 24. She was going to be 25 Valentine's Day this year, and she took her last breath in August. And it sucks when somebody has cancer, and it sucks when you plan a life around that person. I mean, try not to cry, but it just, I feel for people who have been with people longer, or you obviously know St. Jude's and all that. You have kids that have cancer, and you don't know what the next day is going to bring. Ultimately, our story wasn't meant to be, because I'm still here, and unfortunately she's not. So I knew that this was probably the one race, if I had it, I wanted to go big for her. And like I said, she was riding with me tonight those last few laps. I mean, well, whole race really. I mean, she's on the hood obviously, but you always have that little spiritual boost, I guess you could say, just a constant cheering on. So I know she's looking down on me right now. She's smiling. So, McKenna, this is for you. I miss you. And for anybody else listening, just remember to hold your loved ones extra hard because you don't know what tomorrow brings.
Thank you very much for the time, Ryan.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one. I enjoyed this race, by the way. Y'all did a great job broadcasting it, and everybody did a great job of WINSTEL putting it on. I appreciate it.
That's Ryan Hill from 39th to 3rd tonight. McKenna. And on the note of tonight's race, in turn, Derek, an emotional one on multiple fronts. The breakthrough from the bad luck in the bad strides in events such as this for Butler. Stewart getting so close with so much big news right on the cusp. And then you have Ryan Hill, it's mentioned right there in just the podium spots alone. What a race for 2023.
Yeah, what a race indeed, Justin. I think the word emotions wraps up so much of what happened tonight. Whether it's the emotions of being in the middle of the draft and trying to find a way forward, whether it's the emotions of victory for Sean Butler, the emotions of paying tributes and dedication to those who are not here anymore and those who are riding along. Emotions is often the key to success at Daytona and Talladega in the super speedway package. And I think that's the best way to just to call it a night, is to say emotions are important and a valid thing. And I think that's the key of the night.
2023 brought an eventful one for the WINSTEL 400. Multiple different contenders, more than 17 different leaders, 43 plus lead changes, and plenty of cautions. But in the end, it's Sean Butler who writes his name into the records as the winner of the 11th running of the WINSTEL 400. We'd like to thank you for tuning in to the WINSTEL 400 here on FDFGG, here from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. For my broadcast partner tonight, Derek Watson, for our producer, Zach Johnson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Congratulations to Sean Butler, the winner of the 11th running of the WINSTEL 400. Good night.